are going to call the meeting to order. Dante, we're recording?
Yes, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, I want to welcome everyone for the Executive Committee meeting of Community Board 9 for October 2022. My name is Fred Baptiste. I serve as Chair of Community Board 9 and as Chair of this Executive Committee meeting. For the record, Madam Secretary, are you ready to record?
She gave you a head nod.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so for the roll, we have Fred Baptiste present, Chair. I see Warren Burke present, Chair, First Vice Chair. I see Linda Watson Lord, Executive Secretary present. I see Nicholas Almanor, Member at Large present. And I have Kyrie Aline, Member at Large present. Is there any other members of the Executive Committee I haven't called?
That's it, sir.
Francesca.
All right, and as everyone comes, we'll make notation. We'll make the notation in the.
Do you have Naomi Baptiste?
Just one of the officers right now. We'll make sure we record all the chairs as they give their reports. Okay. All right. So we are now going to go next into public commentary. Dante, has anybody signed up for public commentary this evening?
No one signed up prior.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any attendees?
No attendees.
No attendees.
Okay, all right. So unless there's anyone who wishes to speak during public commentary who is here present, we're going to move on and go into the committee chair check-in. All right, so with that, I would ask, let's see first, Primo, Public Safety Chair, would you be able to give us a report for your committee?
Yes. Thank you for calling on me first. It will be relatively lengthy because we did not have quorum, and so we'll need executive committee to vote on the licenses on the floor. Do you want me to do that now, or do you want me to hold that until later?
You know what? Let's do that last, and then we'll just take those.
Last, killing me, Fred. You're gonna have me here till 10.
Go ahead. So please give us the information. Give us the information for the licenses.
If we could, that would be incredibly appreciated by everyone. It means I might be able to make it to a dinner tonight. I understand that that's frustrating, but I will try to make it as quick and painless as possible for everyone. Let me just pull up the applicants real quick, but I have them now in front of me. But before I get into that, I'll give a little bit of a report. So I think first thing probably to talk about a little bit is attendance. I'd say, I have a 6-member committee, which means that I need to have 4 people. I had, before heading into the meeting, a 6-member committee. 2 people told me that they couldn't make it. 1 person didn't make it, which meant that we had 3, which meant that we didn't have quorum. So been scrambling to add members to that committee, and was really grateful that Kyrie accepted my invitation to join the Public Safety Committee, which then moves our membership now up to 7, which means we have a little bit more flexibility. If 3 people aren't able to attend, we still have a quorum at 7. And then we also added another person, actually taking us to 8, which was a member of the community. And that email came in the last 2 days. So we've added another member and moved from 6 to 8 from before the meeting to after the meeting, which is great. I soft concern around attendance. I would say 2 people letting me know is good before, but hopefully we'll have to push to boost, because we do have voting items obviously on the floor during every committee meeting. Second thing was that we invited the NYPD to attend our meeting, the 71st Precinct's Community Affairs Officers, or whatever they're called, NCOs, NCIs, I don't know. And we were supposed to have attendance by one of those members, Officer Nefertiti Charles. The evening of the meeting happened to be a large celebration in the Orthodox community. And because of that, Officer Charles was not able to attend the meeting. Disappointing, but they did express intent to attend the meeting and share some items with us. And then the last thing, and I'll say before we go into the liquor licenses, is that man, it just left my brain just like that. just left. Oh, the FDNY. The FDNY, our staff at the office sent over a list of activities for the FDNY to do community awareness around fire safety before we enter the season, or as we enter the season of radiators, home heaters, etc. And so we decided that we landed on hosting an event with the FDNY in the months to come. It's like an hour-long event that the FDNY shares kind of fire safety tips to community members, and we have a required attendance minimum of 25. So I believe Dante, Mia, Khalid, and myself are going to begin moving on putting something together in a virtual space, actually, rather than doing it in person, as it's kind of cold outside and COVID protocols and all that. I think we'll have a higher attendance if we do a virtual event. Okay, so that's my report on things happening inside of the committee. I can pause here to see if there are kind of any questions and then dig into liquor licenses. Does that make sense?
That's fine. Are there any questions so far on what's been reported by the Public Safety Chair?
Yes, Naomi. Take your
Yeah,
time.
you're recognized. You have to unmute.
Yes, that should be the T-shirt for the rest of the years to come. You have to unmute. Good evening, everyone. Primo, I wanted to ask, are you thinking about getting NYPD school safety to come to your meeting?
I think that's a great idea. I think the place that we kind of want to start probably is with the community safety officer, just like going there first. And then I think they should hopefully be able to make introductions for us to other bodies. But that's a really good idea, one that I haven't thought of. And so whenever we do interact with a member of the 71st, that will be a question for them on the agenda. So thanks for raising it.
Oh, okay. And also, if you need if you need any support, I can give it to you, because I was a school safety agent for 19 years.
Okay.
And I know some I know some commanding officers, for the whole Brooklyn South that we the area that we cover and the schools that we cover. I can probably see if I can use my pull to see if you can, whatever, if you want to ask about some children's safety outside or inside the building and stuff like that. And I can give you a contact of the Department of Ed public safety person as well, that goes over for teachers and for staff, if you like.
Fantastic. Yeah, I would definitely take you up on the offer. I think you can make that introduction if you feel like there's a certain person in the district. I'd say move on it. Yeah, and I'd happily accept that introduction.
Okay, no
Can
problem.
I exchange your contact with each other?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Any other
Okay, are there any
questions?
other questions for the Public Safety? Oh, sorry. Any other questions for the Public Safety Chair? Okay, hearing none, go ahead, Primo. What you got for us this month?
Okay. I am going to move through the easy ones. There's 4. Sorry. But with a small group, we should be able to move through them fast, and hopefully we can wrap them into one voting body or maybe 2. There are 2 easy ones. One is I'll go through the easy ones first. Glow, easy. It's a wine bar on the corner of, I believe, Rogers and like Sterling. And y'all are probably familiar with it. They're looking for like a wine insider license. They're a restaurant that closes at 9 p.m. or like 7:30 or something. They've been around for a while. They've got a liquor license from us already. It's a renewal. There were basically no questions from our committee about their application. Everything was super straightforward. It's a yes, I think, from me and from us at the kind of no question marks around like community safety or them being disruption from a noise perspective or anything like that. It's a relatively small space. There are 0 complaints from NYPD or FDNY about their presence in the neighborhood over the last 2 years. Does anyone have any questions about, Fred, do you want me to go through like all of them, or do you want me to stop at each one? See if folks have questions.
Let's stop. Let's just take the questions for the easy ones, and if there's any.
Sounds
Are
good.
there any questions with respect to this liquor license for Glow on Rogers Avenue? This is a renewal. Is it a full liquor license?
No, it's only wine, beer, and cider.
Wine, beer, and cider. Thank you.
May I take the floor, please?
Yes.
Yes, sorry,
Just want to turn on my camera. Yeah. For Glow, I live just around the corner. You're on one end of the block, and I'm right there. I live right there on left first on Rogers, and they're pretty quiet. There's never no big activity or anything going on with them. So, for me, it's 100% yes for me because they're cool.
Thank you for that local guidance and perspective on that. I agree. I've been there once or twice myself. It's very chill. They're only going to be open until 7 p.m. every day. So.
Okay, are there any other questions for the chair with respect to this application? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Chair, if you would give us the next application you have.
Absolutely. Next easy one is Silver Rice. For those of you who are sushi heads or regularly frequent Franklin Avenue, sorry, not Franklin Avenue, Flatbush Avenue, you're familiar with Silver Rice, which is a kind of sushi cup, if you will, place that is located on Flatbush Avenue. They are also a renewal. They've had a liquor license from us for some time. They do full food. They actually don't even have an active restaurant right now. So there's no seating in the restaurant. Everything that they have on Flatbush Avenue is currently sourced only for takeout. Their hours do not go later than 9:30 p.m. A question that was raised, which is an interesting one, but I think is perhaps a little bit outside of our scope, is like, does Seamless check IDs when they send out food from a restaurant? And so like, that's a tricky one because how do we adjudicate something like that? We kind of can't, right? In my opinion. But again, we're talking about a restaurant that is serving like beer and sake maybe. We're not looking at them sending out, margaritas and stuff in the neighborhood. And again, early closure, no noise complaints from NYPD or from FDNY. And it's just a beer and wine license. Any questions about Silver Rice?
Okay, are there any questions to Silver Rice? I would ask, just remember, just to keep it, use the raise hand function for now. Are there any questions regarding Silver Rice? Actually, I do have one.
Yes.
So right now they're doing what? They're doing takeout, or they're doing only deliveries, or?
They're only doing delivery. And so we asked why they were only doing delivery, and basically what the owner said is like they're actually having trouble finding enough staff to do like seating at the restaurant, and so they only actually have 8 seats at the restaurant. So should they open in the future, they would only be seating 8. But their intent at the moment is to continue with takeout only, which is apparently cost effective for them.
So now with the liquor license, and I'm trying to remember, was there something passed with the city council where it's like you could do alcohol to go or something like that? Was that correct, or is that what they're doing it for?
Oh, Kyrie has a raised hand.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I honestly had a little lag. My apologies. I was going to ask or inquire the same like Fred. I know before, at the start of the pandemic, restaurants were allowed to have drinks to go. However, based on what you were saying, that they don't have enough staff to service the patrons that visit, I don't see the need then to apply for a beer and liquor license at this time, is in my opinion, if they intend to just for delivery, only sell liquor and beer for delivery or for takeout. I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, so just to clarify, they need a beer and wine license in order to send it out with their deliveries, but it's only for deliveries. So they're not doing to-go cups or anything like that, right? You can't just like roll up and be like, open a beer and throw it in a cup for me. You can order the food on Seamless and they will send a can of beer with your delivery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see Beverly has a question.
Yep.
Good evening. Primo, did they talk about opening and taking sidewalk space? Since they don't have a lot of space on the inside?
They do not intend to do that. Yeah.
They don't?
No.
They were asked that, or?
We asked out their future plans for opening. We didn't ask explicitly about sidewalk space, but they did not
Mhm.
express that they had any interest in, one, opening the interior of their restaurant, or two, expanding to the sidewalk.
All right. All right, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Are there any other questions with regards to Silver Rice? Okay, seeing none, Primo, the next application.
Awesome, great. These next two are a little bit more complex, perhaps. A little bit harder. One is a renewal, so I'll start with kind of like the easier one, and that one is for a place called Coffee and Cocktails, which goes under the name of The House. It's located at 1285 Nostrand Avenue. Of course, they showed up to the conversation as well. The owner did. A member of the community. Their hours are a little bit more intense. They are 3 o'clock to 2 a.m. Monday through Thursday, 3 o'clock to 2 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and then 3 o'clock to 1 a.m. On Sunday. They are applying for a full liquor license. They're a bit of a larger spot. They also do have some outdoor space, but it's outdoor space that they own. It's not kind of like one of those sidewalk growth areas, if you will, from the pandemic. And they have, a fairly large kind of seating area. It's kind of like in the back of their restaurant, that's the outdoor. And then they also have a rather large seating area inside. I believe they have a two floor plan. These are also the owners of the Westbury Inn, which is located on Flatbush Avenue, which you may be familiar with. They do not intend to have live music. They do intend to have a DJ and or a jukebox. 5 employees. They have 12 tables. They have 32 seats in the restaurant. They do have a full kitchen. They do serve food, of course. And that is this applicant. No complaints from the FDNY or from the NYPD. Kyrie, I see a raised hand.
Yes, thank you. So my question is, out of the 5 employees, are any of them security? And the reason being is because that venue is fairly large, and though they may not have live music, I do remember the Westbury Inn. I've frequented there before. And I think last year on the Public Safety Committee, I believe they came, they had to come in and renew. And I know that the community was asking for security to be present as well. So it was just out of my curiosity, did they have any security, or do they intend to have security guards, especially at the late hours?
And that was specific to Westbury Inn, or that was specific to the house, the community's request for security?
No, that was like the community for like the Westbury Inn, if I'm not mistaken. But this is my question now for the new location, because it is larger, and the fact that they will have music. We all know that they didn't have liquor before. So if we're going to permit them to have liquor until 3 a.m. or even up until 1 a.m. on a Sunday, just want to make sure that there's security just in case anything doesn't go well.
So this is a renewal, so they do already have a liquor license, and so
Okay.
yeah. And I can ask. I do not recall if we had a conversation about security, but I explicitly don't remember them saying like we have security. I remember it was a conversation for our 4th and final applicant around security. But don't recall it from them. I'm happy to follow up if that's a item of interest.
Thank you. I was just curious.
Sure thing. Fred?
Well, I'm just putting my hand up for a question, but does anybody else have a question first before I go? Okay, seeing none. So then I guess my question with respect to the, I'm not sure if I heard you say it. So in terms of FDNY and NYPD, any adverse reports with respect to this?
None.
Okay, so they were no. Okay, so it sounded like the main concern was with regards to security. I heard something about security, or what were the other concerns, at least, that were mentioned in the committee meeting?
I wouldn't say that there were a lot of concerns mentioned. I think the hours going until 2 a.m. was probably just something that was an item of concern. Oh, I can say that the backyard does close earlier, of course, than those, and their backyard hours go until 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
Are they is that currently their hours, or are they gonna extend to that time? those times?
Those are the hours that are currently in the application.
Okay, but
I'm
otherwise,
not
there are no active,
Sorry, one more time.
but there's no complaint, no noise complaints, nothing.
No noise complaints. There's no. I think it's a question that is often raised in the larger meetings around hours. I think in particular here, we're talking about Monday through Thursday also being till 2 p.m. and Sunday being until 1 a.m. I understand that this is the way that businesses work, and that should be fine, and it has been fine in years previous. But just flagging it as something that, people may raise their hands about in the larger general meeting.
And just one last piece in terms of that. Are there any issues, only because typically I don't, want to, are there any time constraints in terms of can they come back next month for a full consideration by the committee? Or do they need to get this done now? Is there a time constraint with this?
They did not express a time constraint concern.
Okay then. All right, so that's something we can discuss, but perhaps typically I don't like to do this without that, this will give the committee an opportunity to ask any of the outstanding questions that were mentioned.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think that that's actually maybe the wisest course of action for both of our last two applicants. Let me suggest the other applicant to you, and I'll talk a little bit about that one, and then we can see like maybe the correct move is to ask them to answer questions and to come back to the committee next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. And so we can ask Kyrie's question about security, and we can ask your question, which was about what? The second. You had a question, Fred?
You want me to remember what I did? Security.
Maybe it's just security. I think it's security might just be the thing. You asked about hours, and yeah. Okay. And then the next one is an application from it's a new application, right? And so this is from a restaurant that is going to be called Island Escape with an X, SCAPE. It is to be located at 807 Nostrand Avenue. It will be a restaurant, and it is something to note for me and for other folks on the committee. Something that came up is that this is owned by Carly Red. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the name Carly Red, but she is a cast member on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. So she lives in Atlanta. Her parents are from Brooklyn, they're from Crown Heights. The house she grew up in is around the corner from the restaurant. She is a restaurateur. She does own 2 or 3 restaurants in Atlanta as well. She will have a manager who will be managing the restaurant here in Crown Heights, but that person is also coming from Atlanta and is somebody that she has worked with. So it's a new liquor license. It is obviously currently not licensed. There are residential units inside of the building. Those units have been notified. The space is currently empty. It has hours from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday goes back to those 11 p.m. hours. Food is obviously going to be served. It's Caribbean food. There are 7 employees. They did, Kyrie, to your point, have a conversation about potentially adding security at the restaurant if that feels like it's something that's needed. And I think, you enter that, they said, we do have the space inside of our budget to add a security guard if that is something that we feel is needed. It seems like they technically on the form said, no, there will not be security personnel. It's not intended in their original 7 people, but it is something that they brought up without us bringing up. And so it's something that they're thinking about. And it's going to be a full liquor license, and they have all of the kind of necessary accompanying documentation of signatures, etc. There are going to be 10 tables and 28 seats. The volume of music is supposed to be low. There's not going to be any live music intended. They intend to hire residents from the immediate neighborhood. I think that was a sell. Oh, sorry. It says we will have security on Friday and Saturday, Kyrie. And for everybody else. So that is the information about Island Escape. What questions does that raise for the committee?
Okay, thank you. Any members with questions, please use the raise hands and we'll recognize.
I know you said it's a Caribbean
How to raise hands?
restaurant, but well, you said anything. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm gonna raise my hand. All right, here I go.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you said it's a Caribbean restaurant. What type of cuisine are you looking at? What type of Caribbean restaurant? Is it Jamaican, Trinidad? What type of food? Caribbean.
So I can read you the proposed menu. It feels a little general to me. Oxtail sliders, jerk chicken egg rolls, oxtails, jerk chicken, turkey wings, curry chicken, seafood melody, curry tofu, jerk lamb chops. It feels a little
Jamaican.
broad. You're Jamaican. Okay. You tell me. It's Jamaican.
Mm.
Any other questions from the board with respect to that application? Okay, seeing none. All right, so we're receiving applications. We're receiving those recommendations. So it looks like the first two for Glow and Silver Rice are renewals for wine, beer, cider. They're currently in the neighborhood. The last two are for liquor licenses, and I think there might be a couple of questions for each of those.
I think there might actually, I actually don't have any questions recorded from this body about Island Escape, and so maybe we move that into
But
the
I do,
category. Oh,
sorry,
yep,
sorry about
yep.
that.
Go ahead, Beverly.
The question you had in regards to, you said, I do, well, which one was it, Island Escape or the other one? Where you said, we do have points of concern. You listed a couple things, but you didn't say what your points of concern was. Could you go back and readdress that for us, please?
Yeah, so that was only for the applicant, the house, which is at
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's the one at 1285 Nostrand. And I think the points of concern that we raised were that the hours are fairly late, Monday through Thursday till 2 a.m. And the Kyrie's question around security. So I think those are internal questions of the board and members of the committee, but are not questions that have been raised by the community at this point, although maybe they're one and the same.
Primo, the restaurant that had the owner and the manager both living in Atlanta, do they have an on-site operations person?
They do not at this moment. What they are saying is that once they get their proper licensing, et cetera, that the manager is going to move to Brooklyn.
He's going to move to Brooklyn.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
I see another hand from Kyrie. Yeah.
Kyrie, sorry about that.
No, thank you. It's just to follow up. Everything is great. Those questions are great. You did just mention, lastly, I was going to also piggyback off, I think that was Beverly that was just asking about the manager coming from Atlanta, and were all of the 10 employees currently coming from Atlanta? And then they said that they are open to hire people from in our community.
They said that they're seeking to hire from our community. So my understanding is the manager is the only one who's coming from Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that was a question for us too. Like, you don't have anybody in Brooklyn, like, and they were basically like, we want to hire locally. We want to get the manager up here who will then run a local hiring process.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Particularly for those last two, I think this is an opportunity for the committee to have additional conversations, and especially concerns. I think the concerns around the time as well. Historically, sometimes those are actually opportunities to have conversations as a stipulation for our approval. So if we're not comfortable with them going until late hours, if they can make the agreement to do something lesser. So perhaps that's something you can bring back to the committee and have the conversation with the applicant.
Great. And, you know, because it's my first time, is that something that's fine to kind of like say to the applicant, like, basically like, you know, our committee believes that it would be in your best interest to adjust the hours. Ultimately it is their choice, but you know, there's something implied there. So just help me through the political kind of.
Yeah, something to that effect, really. I mean, where it's like, we're not comfortable, you know, depending on the neighborhood, the residents. The other thing is, have the residents signed off? Do they have petitions or anything like that?
Yeah,
They
they
have
do.
signatures?
Everybody has signatures, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. But if there are concerns with regards to time, that might be a negotiable, where it's like, listen, you know what? We're not comfortable with 2 a.m. If they're more willing to do something a little bit earlier, that might be something that's better we can consider, and we might be able to do that as a stipulation. So just ask them, would they be willing to stipulate to an earlier time?
Okay.
Hey, it's Warren. Hi, Primo.
Hi, Warren.
What we've done in the past is limited the hours and approve licenses. So in this case, they're asking to 2 o'clock. We can always say we approve till 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we do have that leeway. And it's not a matter of negotiating with them. We can approve what we need to approve.
Okay. So that feels right to me. So we move forward with kind of voting on our 2 renewals, and we ask the other 2 to come back to answer a few questions and have conversations about ours. For Island Escape, the questions are really more about local hiring. And then for the house, it is going to be more focused on hours. Primarily, yep, and security question as well. Yeah, does that sound right to everybody?
Yeah, for Primo, we can say to them X, Y, and Z. So
Yeah,
we're looking
part of me
Yeah.
wants our committee to have that conversation, you know.
Good.
Yeah,
So
So
then do it.
let's do this. So Warren, so if anything, that's something we can take offline, and Primo, we can discuss that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'd like you to take that back to your committee.
yeah,
You know, make sure, you know, see what we can, you know, what we can work with in there.
that sounds good to me. Thank you. Should we formally vote on kind of what our agreement is at this point?
Not necessarily that we have your recommendation, so it'll probably be when we get to the agenda setting, we'll adopt that in terms of approving the 2 licenses for Glow and for Silver Ice.
Okay,
And the other 2 you just put back on your agenda, you should be fine.
okay.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
there's a hand raised in the attendees.
Hold on. Actually, let's take one moment for that. Because one of the things actually, so as we're concluded with Primo's report, I want to go back for a second. We do actually have a guest with us this evening. We have Ms. Shakima Collins, Figueroa Collins with Chase Bank. She's a community manager there and a vice president. She wanted to address the executive committee with regards to Chase Bank and the programs they're doing, the training, and also give us an opportunity to ask questions and see if there's any linkages we might be able to do as a board and with the committees as well. So Dante, would you be able to promote Shakima onto the now?
I already did.
Perfect. Shakima, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today? I hope that everyone is well. Thank you for the introduction, Fred. Again, my name is Shakima Figueroa Collins, and I am a community manager with JP Morgan Chase. In 2020, Chase has made a $30 billion commitment to help reduce racial wealth disparities. I know I'm preaching to the converted. You know, when we talk about generational wealth, you know how it impacts our lower income communities, specifically our Black and Latino and Latina brothers and sisters. So with this commitment, the whole aim is to ensure that minorities have an opportunity to build generational wealth, focusing on the biggest drivers of wealth, which is home ownership, access to affordable banking, ensuring that they have access to start or sustain their small businesses, and most of all, access to financial health education. So at Chase, as a community manager, there are 150 community managers throughout the United States, in Brooklyn, There are 4 of us, and I am located in the Crown Heights area. I support the 2 banks in Crown Heights, which is on 257 Utica Avenue and 1000 North Run Avenue. So my goal as the community manager is to connect with the community. So when I say connect, so what is happening with the community? Listening, meet regularly with the local leaders to understand the unique needs and challenges in the community. I also am there, I'm the ambassador of the Face Up Chase, to build relationships, to build trust, so that we will be able to organize as a community partners so that we can best serve our community residents. The biggest part of my role also is to help improve financial health. So this involves me coordinating, hosting, working with community partners to host free financial health workshops. I've been in Crown Heights for the last 8 months, and I've been very successful with working with local nonprofit organizations, the precincts, the schools, and to do a lot of financial health workshops so that we are able to give our community residents the tools and the resources that they need to navigate their financial journey. We know, and I'm an immigrant coming from the sweet Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Any Caribbean on the line?
Me too, me too. Well, my family.
And I say that because as an immigrant, I came from very humble beginnings, and coming to this country, I was awarded a scholarship from my hometown, from my country, to come here. And I didn't have the financial tools, and I understand what it is to struggle. Your girl was on the struggle bus back in those days. And making sure that I'm able to bring that to the community is a passion of mine. My experience is coming from youth and community development. I worked with the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. I used to be the director of Compass programs, where I had a team and we oversaw the after-school programs, middle school programs throughout New York City. So looking at nonprofit organizations, looking at their budget, understanding their vision and mission, one of the key pieces that was missing, that I found, was financial education. So it's a passion for me, because you could be, you know, physically healthy, mentally healthy, but there's something that when you're financially unhealthy, it brings out all the stress of physical and mental pain. So the goal is to work with leaders and to make sure that everyone has an equitable opportunity to have access to financial health, not just the information, but understanding how to navigate what are the tools, what are the resources out there, so that they're able to sustain and make sure that they can come to the bank or work with other partners to make sure that someone is there to support them, so that we could build generational wealth. You know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I always say I take it a step further. It takes community partners to work together to change communities. And that's what we're out here doing. I know I said a mouthful, and I'll pause. Any questions that you may have, please.
All right, please use the raise hand function. We'll recognize you if you have any questions for Ms. Figueroa Collins. And I'm getting the last name right, am I?
Figueroa Collins, yes. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Okay, I see Cheryl Wright.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I don't know if there's a Cheryl Wright, but good evening, everyone. Hello, Miss Fellow Trinidad.
Hello.
Tobago, how are you? I just want to know, how can we find out more information about helping our community? I live in Crown Heights. This is my first time here. The reason why I found out about this committee is because I was trying to get a traffic light for 18 years. And I finally made it happen, and I'm very thankful. But I want to start taking a active part in my community. I live on Troy for over 50 years, but we have a lot of youth, a lot of young men in our neighborhood, and I would like to know about the program that could probably assist them. How can I get in contact with you to maybe have these children start learning from early about saving money, and my husband and I really mentor them, and if we can broaden that for them, that would be great.
Great. I'll leave my contact information in the chat. Is that okay, Fred and Dante? Or they can
we
send
actually
it
don't
out
have a
after?
chat. We don't
Okay.
have a chat set up, but if you want to give, yeah, Cheryl, if you contact the district office, we have Shakima's information there. So absolutely, we'll just make sure we respond and we'll give you all her contact information.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And then we'll be able to talk, yes, and we start with the youth. That's a passion of mine, making sure that they get this information so that they can start to formulate these practices. I don't know about everybody on the call, but I know that in my household, growing up, humble beginnings, I'm being realistic and I'm being really real about this, is that I have developed an anxiety with money. And if we check ourselves, like, how do we feel with money? It comes from upbringing, right? So once we are able to get youth from a very young age to start to think and change mindset, and even us adults, when we think about our finances, sometimes it makes us unhappy or anxious, or maybe happy for some of you all, but we know the experiences we have encountered when it comes to finances. And as a Black and Brown community, the experience is totally different for a lot of us.
All right, I see you got a few questions coming out. All right, so here we're gonna go. Naomi, you'll be next, followed by Debbie, then Primo, and then Fran, I see you, and we're gonna have to move on after that, so we'll close on Fran, okay? Go ahead, Naomi, you have the floor.
Hi, how are you? Thank
Good.
you for coming. And you're a beautiful woman.
Thank you. You
You're
too.
welcome. Thank you. I was gonna ask, I'm the chair for education in the library committee, and I would love for you to come to my committee meeting one of these days, that if you have time, so we can get some of the 3K to 5th grade to junior high school, some information on how financial literacy, and probably partner with having something for parents and children. And I mean, like, we can talk more afterwards, but I would really like that to happen, and hopefully get something with the libraries as well.
Sure, beautiful. And yes, we'll be able to talk through that and what that looks like. And I'm glad that, Naomi, that you added the parents. One piece of it is just not just the kids, but their parents and even the school staff, so that everyone understands, like, it takes work from all of us. We pull in the thread through the relationship. So thank you for bringing that up.
No problem. And also a lot of our children in this community, they're raised by grandparents too and seniors. So
Yes.
I think that that all can tie into something, because if you have a senior and they don't know about their pension or certain things, or they might have had 2 pensions and didn't know, or their Social Security is not going into the bank, whatever, we can tie them in as well to make it into something whole, because you have a lot of children being raised by their grandparents as well, or different family members. And because they're guardians, they only have a limited access in teaching financial wealth. So thank you for that.
Well said, thanks.
Okay. All right, I see Debbie, and I would ask, please, for all the members, please, let's keep our comments or questions brief, because we want to make sure we're able to get through the entire meeting. Go ahead, Debbie, I see you next.
Hi, good evening. I was just concerned as to whether anyone reached out to the local businesses in the community from Chase.
Yes, absolutely. So we so at the bank we do a lot of that. So we host financial health events at the bank also. So we do community walks, and I'm always in the community talking to small businesses and connecting with small businesses, whether it's nonprofits or small restaurants. Like today I spoke to the Black Restaurant Coalition. I'm in constant communication with our small businesses, and we do have workshop for small businesses. We are actually planning something with the Black Coalition. I don't know if you heard of Major Owens. You probably know the big building. So we have done like, we partnered with the Department of Finance and Major Owens, and now we have a cadence of every month we have different topics that we are covering, and it's for everyone. We have different curated topics for small business owners, for community residents, students, that kind of thing that we're working with. So yes, we have not reached out to everyone, Miss Debbie, but we are, it's me.
I'm aware of that, yeah.
8 months in, but that's what it takes, like people like you and everybody else to get the word out so that we could connect and we could really make this into a way where people are walking away with outcomes and feeling like they are empowered to have a control over their financial journey.
And that's part
And
of the reason
also,
why Mr.
in terms,
here. That's
Yeah,
part of the reason why
it-
we have Mr. Garrett Collins here, because we wanted to kind of expose her to all the committees. Definitely, we want to have that conversation with our Economic Development Committee and see how we can leverage that as a board. But that's something definitely we're going to be moving forward with. Did
And-
you have one final?
yeah, I have another. And also in terms of like community events, who's responsible for, you know, at Chase or Nostrum for those type of things? I mean, I've
So-
reached out and I've been bounced around to corporate. I spoke to corporate.
Yeah.
Corporate gave me the runaround, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If Chase is the biggest banking industry in this country, why is it so difficult to, you know, give back to the community? I mean, I see who's in the bank when I go there. And in most cases, it's, you know, people that look like me. So I don't know. I mean, it's mind boggling.
Yeah.
So.
So,
it
well,
would be-
thank you for bringing that up. And, you know, my job as the community manager, as I told you, is to listen. So thank you for bringing that forward. So to make it easier, this is why, to Fred's point, you have a point of reference and contact. So when it comes to community or the community events, I'm the one in my area, and I support, although I'm in Crown Heights, I support Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brownsville, and East New York. So thinking about community events, like I've seen Dante in several events over the summer. Actually, I was the initial was kicking it off with Community Board 9. That's where I was able to meet a lot of people and foster these relationships. So when it comes to events, that's something that we do. I would say I under promise, in the sense I do not over promise, and under promise. I don't over promise. Let me make that clear. So although it's a $30 billion commitment, I am not standing with checks saying, you got to check, you got to check, you got to check. We want to build the relationship. We want to provide and tap into the free financial health resources that we have. And then from that, once we are able to build that relationship, then when there's, as I told Dante and Fred, we could come together and we could talk about, okay, these are the things that we have done. We have built this relationship. This is what this organization needs to do this community event that is happening. How can Chase be of support? And that's how we build out the relationship.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Primo, I see you next, and then Fran.
Why I keep going back and back and back and back? Why you keep pushing me back and back?
No, I did say Primo and then Fran.
Okay, go ahead.
You did say, you want to go first, Fran? I'm
No,
totally.
it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Shakima, first of all, thank you for coming here. I'm glad to see a representative from the bank in the community, and a few thoughts. Like one, we need more branches in Crown Heights. We've got 143,000 people and we have 2 branches. It's not enough. You just closed the branch on Bedford. I understand that COVID has impacted the community, but this is a community that relies on branch availability and talking to people. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's not an online banking community. So something to think about and hopefully bring back to, you know, whoever people are that make those decisions. And this, you know, 2 things to think about. One, you used to chair the Youth Services Committee, which Sol is now the chair of. And, you know, our last partnership was with Carver Bank, which is a Black-owned local bank. And I just left the National Museum slavery in the United States, and JP Morgan Chase's name was plastered all over the walls because the bank is built on profits from the cotton industry, as well as mortgage backings that come from slaves. So while you may not have $5 million in checks to hand out, it is something, there is a great debt owed to the Black community in the United States from JP Morgan Chase as a bank. And so just want to make sure that we're acknowledging the truth of that legacy in this space as well.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that, Primo, because as I do this work, I stand as a Black woman, not only just a Black woman, but a Black Caribbean woman. And I understand the pains and the hardship that we still face up to this day. And you know what, the point of my reference is like, how can I use what, because if you think about it, most old institutions, they have benefited from slavery. And I'm not here to defend Chase, but I'm here to take responsibility. Now, what can we do now? And yes, as I said, there are no checks that I'm giving out, but I'm giving out something that is more than a check in the sense of knowledge. Knowledge is power. It's something that we lack. And when it comes to mindset, making sure that we're able to change mindset and empower our people, not just with money, because I could hand out checks, stand on the street and hand out checks. But if you don't know how to manage money, then where are we going? So the twofold part of this is understanding how do we change mindset as we work towards things like reparation. Not that Chase is doing that, but thinking about what we have right in front of us, how we can use it, and how as a Black and Brown communities, how can we maximize it and make it useful for everyone, not just some of us, but everyone. And it starts with education. Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Sometimes we are enslaved right now and we don't even know it because we have a mindset of when it comes to building generational wealth. And yes, we have been disadvantaged. Now we want to make sure that everyone have an equitable, not equal, but equitable opportunity to see the light and to start moving on, navigating their financial journey to build generational wealth. But I acknowledge what you're saying. Absolutely. It's not erasable and it's not something that's stuck in the back. It's at the forefront when we think about the things that Chase is doing right now to take responsibility and to ensure that our Black and Brown communities are being served properly.
Absolutely. I'm a Chase customer, so like, yeah, you know.
No, but
I think we gotta do better. But yes,
yes, we gotta do better,
and we have to name the reality of history.
Yes, and yes, we have to name the reality because we cannot negate it. It has been part of our history, and it still is today. But what are we doing? How can we come together to move this forward? Because in voices, there are numbers, and numbers, there's power, right? So this is the stance that I'm taking as a Black woman, a Black Caribbean woman trying to help my community.
Okay, we're gonna see and close on.
Fred, can I ask anybody else asking a question?
Listen, we really got to move on, and
Just give me this one question, Fred. Give me this one question. It won't be long.
Well, hold on. If I go to you, then I also got to take Felicia. She has her hand up before you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Fran,
So, Fran, please, Beverly, after this, but let me warn everyone now.
Don't worry, don't
I
worry.
understand.
It's fine, it's okay, it's fine.
Are you good? So, Fran, are you good or?
No, state your question, Francesca. Go ahead.
Basically, Naomi went right there. I just wanted to ask lady concerning seniors if they had anything as part of the on the cap voice looking. Oh, yeah, I was looking for your face. Yeah, if you had anything for seniors in your program, because when Naomi she was talking, she brought up the seniors because as Chair for Health and Social Services, I'm very concerned for the seniors and a lot of the services that they have in the community for the seniors. So I just wanted to know if the program that you have set, if the seniors were part of that program as well.
Yes, Francesca. Yes, they are. We have a deck for seniors that's curated just for seniors. Yes.
Police, go ahead. Police? Police, did you have a question? Okay, we're gonna skip over Beverly.
Ma'am, I have a question. Where on the list?
I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. I'm sorry, Beverly. Let me just say this. I really applaud you for doing this, making a financial awareness. I just want to state this. Is there any way that you can get in contact with the schools? Because in my remembrance of going to high school, this is one of the factors and one of the key things that they were teaching us was finance, how to do a checkbook, how to balance a checkbook. Okay, so they need to put this back into the school system. Is there any way that you can connect with the school pertaining to this? That was my
Yes.
question.
Yes, so in our community, the schools so far, we've made connections with Boys and Girls High School. We are working with Medgar Evans. We just supported Medgar Evans, to your point, like how are we supporting our community? We just supported that and gave them a large grant so that they can continue the work. And we're doing a host of financial health events with them. As I said, my background is in youth, so really connected with the nonprofits like Friends of Crown Heights, to name a few, and working with them within the school. So the efforts for schools and getting into the schools is important. That's a part on the list, and I've been able to be successful at it. And when we do the schools, we think about three things: the students, the teachers, and the parents. So we want to engage everyone as we do the work together.
Excellent.
And-
Try to include Prospect Heights and Clara Barton too. Thank you.
I met with Clara Barton and I'm going to connect with them to do some work. So good.
Beverly, we'll close on you.
Thank you, Fred. Ma'am, can you tell me where on the list of banks that give back to their community is Chase? Last time I heard, Chase was out of the top 10. Do you know where they are right now?
I don't know the number, but I know from my experience with Chase thus far, Chase does give back to the community. And I just gave you an example of right in our community last 2 weeks with Medgar Evans. As you know, Medgar Evans just got the first Black female president, and we were able to be a part of that gala and provide funding to Medgar Evans.
Yeah.
So that's just
Yeah.
one to give you like most recent, but
Well, it wasn't saying the list is created for banks so that the community can see them compared to their peers, how they give back. And Chase was in the bottom half of the list. So I'm asking, maybe that was 1 or 2 years ago. So I'm asking you, do you know where Chase is now? Chase gives to the community, but they don't give to the community in comparison to the way the people of in communities of color deposit in their bank. So that's the question, because they're measured by their peers.
right. So as I told you, Miss Beverly, that I don't have that answer
Okay.
in front of me, as I said. I'll be happy to pass that question on so that you can get the answer. And not only that, as we talk about giving back, that's why I'm here, in the sense of this is what we have to offer. We offer free financial health resources. And yes, there's so many things stacked against us, but how can we use what we have right now in front of us to maximize these benefits for our community residents?
I agree. That is why you are here, because I've seen Chase put community people for the last year, maybe, out doing outreach, but that could be why, because they're in the bottom half of that list. So, because I was wondering where before they didn't do that. And now they're doing that because they're trying to uplift their image. But right now, they look poor in the amount of deposits that they receive in communities of color and how much they give back to mortgages, startup businesses, buying new cars, stuff like that. They have a very poor rating in that respect. So
Right.
that's why I was asking, did you know what the most recent rating is? Thank
Yeah, I
you.
don't. You're welcome. I don't know the most recent rating. Thanks for the question.
You're welcome.
But to
Thank
that point, Ms. Figueroa Collins is here today. And she's told us that there's $30 million that is out there. And the purpose for us bringing bringing her here this evening is so that way, hopefully, you're able to bring this back to your committees in terms of what can we do to empower the district. Is it in terms of education, which they are willing to offer? Are there programs that we would like to see if we can develop in partnership? Can we grow the money? All things that are the conversations, but I think we want to take advantage of this while we're here. So what I would ask for all the committees, all the chairs, to please make sure you take this back to your committees, rather than have 17 conversations, emails going to Shakima. I would ask if you could please make sure you share that with the district office. Again, using that budget request template that we've recommended, let's develop the programs, and then we can have that conversation with Chase and see what we can do to develop this and really make this a true, strong partnership. But Mr. Garrett Collins, thank you so much for joining us this evening. You haven't gotten rid of us. You'll be hearing a lot from us, but thank you for coming and addressing the board, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you all, and thank you for your questions. Looking forward to this partnership. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Take care of that. All right, we are going to move the agenda. Okay, we're going to go back 1 second because I know that was a departure. I do see the one hand. I see Ms. Boyd. We're going to allow her 3 minutes for public commentary or if she had a question. And then after that, we are going to go back, continue very quickly. And I would ask all the chairs to please be succinct in your reports. We're going to go through the rest of it, and then we're going to go through the reports and set the agenda for next week. Ms. Boyd, please promote Ms. Boyd for public commentary.
Yes. All right, should be.
Hi, first and foremost, I had questions that I would have liked to ask all of the presenters, and yet I was not allowed to ask. So I'm a little concerned about the lack of community engagement in this executive board meeting.
Clicking, Ms. Boyd.
Excuse me?
Your time is clicking. Continue.
Yeah, but you're interrupting me, Mr. Fred. Thank you. So I'm concerned about that the fact that the community is not being allowed to ask questions during the executive board meeting when you have someone that has so much detailed information, and maybe we might want to have a question asked. And I didn't see that happening. Second, I'm very concerned about the fact that bylaws are being considered by this committee and by the community board, and there has been no formal process that has been created that allows the community to first see what's going on, to know what's going on, and to participate in that process. This is a community board, and one of the requirements of the open meetings law is that anything that's discussed should be done in an open meeting. The changing of bylaws is a very serious issue. Bylaws are laws. And so there is a process that needs to be done, and it's not being done in this case. So I don't want to hand out threats, unnecessarily, but I can assure you that you guys and the way in which this process is now occurring is a violation of the law. You can't change bylaws by having email communications between board members and then come up with suggestions that the community has not been involved in. This is the purpose of committees. There should have been a bylaw committee that was established. Everyone should be allowed to attend it. Residents should be allowed to ask questions and also have their own input incorporated into this. Corporation Council should have been notified of the intention to change the bylaws. Any bylaw suggestions or changes should have been given to Corporation Council for their feedback. You cannot just decide to change the bylaws of a government entity. You are a government entity. And the way in which this is now being handled is being handled in the violation of certain laws. And so it kind of means that you are not doing what you're supposed to do. I was very concerned over the fact that Fred himself is positioning himself to grab a lot more power than he's entitled to. He wants to sit there and decide to not have elections for when an executive board member, for whatever reason, leaves office during a term, and just have an appointee. That's a violation of the law. All executive board members have to be elected. There's also the idea that Fred himself would be allowed to just unilaterally decide to remove a board member without due process. The due process point is now supposed to be 30 days would be able to obtain counsel, and the change is now 15 days without counsel. These are violations of not your board members, your own issues. So there's a lot of concerns that the public and a lot of people have been talking about it, even if you are not allowing us to speak. A lot of the residents in the community are very concerned about
You should conclude your comments.
bylaws are being attempted to be changed by this executive committee and by the community board without a full discussion, committees, input from the community, and disclosure. And I think that that's the key issue. You're not disclosing what board members are feeling, why they are making suggestions, and whether or not these suggestions are lawful. I don't think
Ms.
it's
Boyd, you
lawful.
exceeded your time. Okay,
Able
thank
to
you
be
for your
the
time.
chairperson
Thank
as
you for
well
your
as
comments.
chair or committee.
Okay. All right, we are going to continue on in the agenda. There will be some discussion with respect to the bylaws, the proposals, and some of the timeframes and some of the actions that have been taken. So there will be an opportunity to ask questions. And as was discussed at the last general board meeting, there will be some discussion by the exec in terms of the next steps where we're going to be going forward in the process. And we'll be able to address some of the questions and concerns addressed by Ms. Boyd and other members of the board as well. All right, we're going to go back to order. We are now going to continue with the committee reports. Let's see. Mr. Almanor, do you have a report for Parks and Recreation? You're muted.
Yes. Hi,
And a reminder
everyone.
for everyone, please keep it brief, under 2 minutes.
Yeah, I want to keep it very quick and brief. I just want to report over, just a quick report on last meeting. Basically, we had a couple of presentations. The Prospect Park Alliance came give us a preview for their plans for this upcoming fiscal year. We had the presentation from the new manager, the vision of the Dorsey Gallery, and we had no public commentary. We tried to select a secretary. So far, we're doing it on a rotating basis. And what we did while in this meeting is to get community liaisons, members of the committee attached to various community institutional liaison where they are going to interact with those communities, to those institutions and bring back information, possibilities, especially we're talking about things like the museum, the botanical garden, information how can the community can take and participate at the lowest possible or no cost for the activity taking place at those institutions. And we talk about a couple, we are in the process of exciting the plans of some activities for the year. And in short, this is my report. So our minutes should be up soon and that will be reflected in the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. A couple of quick questions for the chair. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much for your report for information. We will now take a report from the Chair of Health and Social Services. Fran, do you have a report for your committee?
Just quickly, good evening, everyone. Just quickly that we are working, I spoke to our council member Rita Joseph, and as well as Assembly Member Cunningham, and then we are looking to put something together for the holidays for the seniors. So more information will be coming your way. We are looking to work with this and then also we are working with also with the council member and Department of Aging for Finemo Senior Center, because they are not part of the monies that are coming in. The monies that are coming in, they're just getting discretionary fund, and it is something over the years that we have been trying to help them with. So we are trying to write a proposal for them so that they can get in the program with Department of Aging. We were trying to get food from, well, we try to get food for them because this food that they have pantry days is very scarce. Shalom used to help them, and then there are even with Grow NYC when they have food, vegetables to give out, they don't have any transportation. So we are trying to help them to get funding and as well to see as to which of the organizations out there can help them with transportation when they need to get food for pantry. So these are the things that we are working on right now. So more information will be coming your way as to what we are putting together, what program over the holidays we will have for the seniors. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the Health and Social Services Chair? Okay, hearing none. I would just say I'm very interested in hearing about the program. Please make sure the committee votes on it and also fills out the budget request form, so we have the date, the time, and any resources the board is going to be committed to as well. And just to make sure we can communicate everything to the board and the community as well. All right, I see the Chair of Youth Services. Gold, do you have a report?
Hi, everybody. Good night. So for, excuse me, Youth Services Committee, the committee voted to agree upon being a part of the Youth Summit that we're having December 10th in conjunction with Faith in New York and multiple other organizations. We want to incorporate a job preparation workshop, as well as a second one closer to us doing one for a job and internship fair that we will be collaborating with CB9 on for around April. But we want to make sure that the youth are prepared to be able to interview and have a resume and things like that for the event. We all voted to also have the Family, Youth, and Fun Day at Robert McNair Park, and also making it like a youth film festival, talent show, games, bringing youth back to the parents, having some competition between adults and kids. And we will see if we want to pursue on with the HBCU college tour, depending on if we're able to obtain funding, because it costs $65,000 to do it. We would take kids to 10 colleges from Brooklyn to Atlanta during spring break in April. Still working on my partnership with Megger for space for monthly workshops with the kids before we go. And I think that's it. That's pretty much it for that. And we presented participatory budget information during this meeting and are planning to have some guest speakers for the next meeting. I just wanted to solidify the date first, because ours lands on election day. And that would be it for my group.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Are there any questions for the Youth Services Chair?
Hey, it's Warren. I don't have any questions, but I have a compliment. That agenda that you have is terrific. And I also want to point out that one of the most successful events in the past has been the Youth Fair for internships and jobs. So just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that was great. So now the one thing I thought I heard, so you guys approved the two events that you want to have?
We approve Family and Youth Fun Day, job internship, job preparation workshop, and youth summit.
Okay, there's a lot there. The one thing that we want to make sure happens is once you vote on that, please have those voting items ready for the exec, so that way we can review it as well, because those are going to need approval by the board before we take them on formally.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're going to need that information. Would you be able to provide that for the board so the board can vote for next week?
Sure.
Okay.
I just would need assistance on how I'm supposed to do that. That would be my only.
Okay, and that's the big thing, the budget request forms, because they basically cover all the stuff. So it's like,
okay,
name of the event, where you're going to have it, who's involved,
okay,
how much money you're going to need, supplies, resources.
Okay.
And if people are covering those things, great, but we just kind of want to understand what the board's commitment is to that.
Okay.
So if we got to put in resources or even just advertising to make sure that it goes out, so that way it's a CB9 event that you guys are doing, and we put all our energy into it as well. So for all the events you've approved, if we can get that, so that way we can consider those as part of the the agenda for next week.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I see our Environmental Protection Chair. Debbie, do you have a report?
Hi, so we met on October 6th. We weren't fully staffed, but we had a good discussion. And we're hoping that, we can, pull some good, things together and, try to do some stuff and actually reflect back on some of the things that were worked on in the past and try to move it forward. The garbage cans and certain things that, are pending. So overall, we look forward to people attending the meetings and, participating. Overall, we did have a good meeting that night, the four of us. And we hope that, moving forward, we can do some work in the community as we supposed to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Are there any questions for the Chair of Environmental Protection? Okay, I don't hear any, but I'm noticing a trend that's going on as well. Committee chairs, as you submit your minutes, please make sure that you're also letting us know, the district office know who is absent, because we're only in October and we can see that there's issues happening in all the committees. So we need to make sure we're tracking those so that way from the district office, we can take care of that, make calls if necessary in terms of making sure people are okay or they understand clearly that they have a responsibility to attend those meetings every month. So if you're having issues already, please make sure you let the board know who the issues are so that way we can start the outreach to make sure that people understand that there's a commitment to the committees are part of that commitment as well. But thank you for that. Okay. Let me see.
Mr. Chair, may I say something to you quickly? Just by saying, so we have a lot of new members and most of us, we don't know who are all the new members and persons who are on our committee. So if there is a way that you can distinguish between committee members and board members on our committee, that would be great. So we'll be able to keep track of the persons who are not board members who are not attending the meetings.
Okay, so Dante, if you and the team can work on that, if we could just make sure we reissue the rosters, but critical, so make sure that all the committees at the beginning of the meeting, you're taking your roll. So that way, one, you'll know if you have quorum, and two, you can start taking note of those names that never say yes every time you call their name. We really need to make sure we do this because, we put so much work and into the committees in terms of getting, taking care of these things. So we want to make sure we address it if you're having any issues getting the work done on your level. But we'll do that. We'll make sure that we refresh that list for you. Okay, thank you for that. If I could call on, you know what? Only because I always call her last. Ms. Moses, you have a ULURP report.
I am still last.
No, there's other people. We have more.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, good evening, everybody. Our committee met yesterday because we had to change our meeting time. So we haven't really gotten all our minutes together as of yet. But anyway, I'm going to just try to review just important stuff we did talk about. We talked about the improving the New York City land use decision-making process. And what I basically asked my committee was that to review that 77 pages because it's extremely important because we want to be a part of this process, and the way that it's going, I mean, the community board itself would be kind of eliminated because I'll just give you the example. One of the recommendations would be that the community board and the borough president office be joint to make a decision on yay or nay on whether we should have this ULURP process. It is a 77-page document. We did discuss it and we just tabled, we had a discussion whether we should have a subcommittee for the land use. I'm sorry, a subcommittee for the decision-making process and the city of Yes. Now, I attended the land use decision-making process, but I did not attend the meeting for the city of Yes. And I understand they have another meeting on October 27th. So I'm not that familiar with it yet. And so I'd like to get some documentation around that. However, we did table it because we want to see if we do need a subcommittee to address those areas. One thing I do want to say in terms of what I did read, the part of that, I didn't read all the 77 pages, but I read half of it. And I would say, number one, that the environmental committee really needs to read because a lot of it also addresses the environmental committee. Housing also needs to really kind of read it also because it also addresses housing and transportation. It is extremely important that we read and understand how it's going to impact us as a community board, because we definitely want to have some input. And if we don't know exactly, well, let me just say this. One thing I can say what this report does is if you don't really know the ULUP process, it kind of tells you what it is now, and then it tells you what it wants to change to. And when they want, and they already formed their committee, I think it's about 9 to 11 panel. And one of the things too is they cannot just change it automatically. The changes will come about through state laws, city charter.
No, y'all can't do that. That's unfair. That's unfair to me. I speak to every.
Huh?
Don't worry, open mic.
Oh. Oh, okay. So I'm just asking everybody to review, just to review that. The second thing that we did talk about, we just basically got some updates on 54 Crown Street, and you could read that in our minutes. And since we're not able to meet on our regular Tuesday, we're going to meet on November 7th on that Monday because Tuesday is election day. But once again, I just want to stress to everyone to please try and review those materials. Second thing is there was a motion on the floor, and I think now it goes to the executive committee, and the motion was for the district office to request a deed for valid Brooklyn Kingsborough West development. And at this present time, I mean, I did see some materials come through, but I haven't had time to review them. But it's my understanding, unless something changes, that it was state funded, so I don't really know at this point how we to become involved in it. But this is what they want to do. They want to redevelop there's Kingsborough Psychiatric Center site, which is still there. And so what they want to do is they want to put 900 affordable homes there at the western end of 681 Clarkson Avenue. They're saying that the site hospital will remain at the site, and the 900 homes will be supportive housing and senior housing. At present, they say they have 2 existing homeless shelters. And what they want to do is just to replace them, I guess, to update them, replace them. And they also want to put a public green space, a basketball court, and some urban farming space, 10,000 square yards, I guess, for farming. And then they want to put a grocery store there and a 1,000 square foot community hub for after school program. They also want to do, let's say, okay, it's supposed to be 200 permanent jobs, in the area for Community Board 9 and 3,700 construction jobs. So the issue here is it state property or is it city property? And what is our input if we have it? That's what the issue is. So housing, you take a look into it with me. You know, as much as you can also bring into the site. But so far, I don't really know. Oh, one other thing. So we had the motion on the floor, but we did receive some materials, and I don't know if that was the deed or not, Fred. I didn't really get an opportunity to read it. Because we put a motion on the floor to receive a copy of the deed. The motion was for the district office to request the deed for Valor, Brooklyn, Kingsbury West development. So that's what the motion was. So we moved it on. And right, so it passed in favor here. So basically I don't really know if we have the deed or what the person's that objecting is. I really don't know at this point.
Right.
And
I'm sorry,
that's it. So what we'll do is we'll have our minutes, hopefully when we meet, everybody will be able to read it, and then we'll have more detail of what we discussed. But once again, I just wanted to stress for everyone to please, let's stay on top of it. We definitely got to have input into what's going to happen in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a couple of quick questions for the ULURP chair. Warren, I do see your hand. Please use the raise hand function.
Hi, it's Warren. I just have some definition on this. Pat, thank you for that recap. Today we received an email from Jay Soren, who yesterday requested that we get the deed for the land, and he had the deed and he sent it to us. And the deed, definitely states that if there's a change of use of the land, then it goes back to the city. So, in terms of our vote last night, it was sort of useless. And I don't understand why he didn't come forward with this information yesterday. But the future question for the committee is going to be, how do we want to proceed knowing that they're in conflict with what the deed parameters were? The other thing I want to say is that I reiterate what Pat said, is that we all have to get involved in this. This is important stuff, and it affects all the committees. So, I just want to say thank you for Pat for that summary. And I just wanted to inform of where we stand with the deed. And I don't think there's a need to request it since we have it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see Beverly, and then I do have one question for the chair or comment, actually. Go ahead.
So, Pat, yes,
yes,
I understand your concern and housing. We were lucky enough for the staffers from Mia in particular to send us a copy of the housing component. There's a document, I don't know if you noticed that, in preparation for the meeting, so that housing could talk about what they are planning to do. Because if you look at the housing part, the way they intend to change development is they're going to go back and pull in the properties that haven't already been overdeveloped. They're going to make parking lots that are currently off limits, well, not necessarily off limits, not in use. They're going to go back and make them suitable for, or force them to place housing on them. So by the time they go through the city with that, we are nowhere near as densely populated as we will be by the time they do that. So I agree with you. Each one of us have a section we need to focus on. I agree with you in that, and there is a sense of urgency. Secondly, I was under the impression, I was at the presentation when Diana did it. Kingsbrook, the property with the psychiatric center on it, that is state funded. So that is a state property. This is not to
Mhm.
Patricia. This is a broader picture. It's state funded, so it's state property. So is the deed that we're talking about referencing a portion of that development, or is something else? I'm not clear about what we were discussing when you brought up the deed. Not you, Patricia, Warren.
Beverly, I can answer that. This is a
Yeah.
request by Jay Soren, who's a resident on.
I know who you're
Maple
talking
Street.
about. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it is state land. And it, first of all, to say who they are, so everybody knows, I believe it's One Brooklyn, the new hospital system.
But that's state
And
funded.
No, it's not One Brooklyn.
who is
It's
it?
Vital Brooklyn.
Vital.
What's
That's
the
state
between
funded.
Remember,
Vital
there
and
are a
one?
couple of properties. There are a couple of properties that we're talking.
Right.
Unfortunately, they all start King something.
Yes,
there's
thank you,
Kingsborough,
Fred.
So who's
Jewish-
Vital?
Gingsboro, yes, Fred.
There are a few properties that we're talking about in the neck of the woods.
Right.
sorry,
And,
Martha.
So for our discussion, who is Vital Brooklyn? Who is that?
that's 681, that's Kingsborough Psychiatric, that's 681 Clarkson Avenue.
Okay.
Which is
So-
state funded.
Right,
Where is
it's
the
okay.
deed? That is
And
in
that's
conflict.
That's where we worked for before when Breaking Ground wanted to set up a shelter there. That's Kingsborough. Okay.
Yes.
Right, that's
Exactly.
two different, like, right. So anyway, we
Okay.
So
can,
where is
we
the
can,
deed conflict, guys?
Okay, no, the deed, there's no conflict,
there's
there's a
no
deed.
conflict.
And what the deed says, from what I read today, and we'll send it to you, Beverly,
Okay.
is that if the change of use, okay, from what it was allocated for changes, the ownership of the land reverts back to the city. Okay, so what Jay Soren's point is that the city has the right to accept or reject this. And what he wants us to do, we haven't discussed nor voted on it yet, is to decide whether or not we should ask the city to reconsider based on the problem with the deed.
But that property
that's-
is not, but that
It's not
property
us.
can't revert back to the city if it belongs to the state.
Yeah, but
No,
as
but
far
I
as the
think that's
deed,
the
let
point
me,
from the
let me
documentation.
send it to you.
Okay,
From the
let me just,
documentation that has been presented to the board, there is a clause in there that it says basically if the state changes the use, which is going to be proposed with this project, then actually the ownership reverts back to the city. So that's
So
why the
that's
question-
stating that the city was the original owner.
Yes.
No, it has nothing to do with that, actually.
It,
What it has
it's
to
to
do is
revert
that-
back means to go back to what it was before. And if it
Yeah,
reverts
but-
back to that the city, that means the city had to have owned it at some point.
okay, so,
Beverly,
okay,
Beverly, I don't disagree by any means. Let me send you the wording.
Yes,
okay, and
please, because
everything
I didn't
else,
see that.
And then let's have input, because that's what we need.
what I would like, Fred, Dante, if you can you please send the material? I didn't get the opportunity to read it, but can you send that also to Beverly, because she would definitely need to read it. I don't really see any conflict. I don't, and as far as Jay is concerned, he does not live in our community. He evidently is representing some people within the community itself. So
But I did invite him to be, see, I don't know what his residence is, but he has been to 2 housing meetings, just for the sake of clarity, of transparency. Hold on, Patricia.
mhm.
And I did say, okay, when he sent some information, I said, Fred, I said, Jay, are you going to be a community member of the housing committee? Then he stopped sending information. He stopped doing input. But I did invite him to do that because information is information. But if he doesn't live in the community, that's different. But it seems like he just, and this is just my impression, and I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just trying to be transparent. He chooses to be the relayer of information, but not a participant, and we need participants.
Well, you know, okay, let me just say this. I'm
Okay.
not really concerned. I'm just made it. I mean, anybody can put forth something to the committee. I don't have a
For
problem.
us to have information, agreed.
Right, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. All I'm saying is that, you know, I don't know what that particular individual wants. I mean, he's talking about moving a homeless shelter out to Rikers Island and stuff like that. So my point is that
Oh,
we'll
I didn't see
discuss this we'll discuss this at another point. I just want to get some clarity on what the state involvement.
Yes,
is and
okay.
what the city involved. That's all I want to know. I need to
Me
know
too.
that.
Because I have a problem with what the mayor's proposing for housing, and I'm sure I haven't read the ULURP part, because I was focused on the housing part. I have a problem with what they're proposing to do with new developments and what spaces they're looking to identify for new housing when one, the current hard housing that was built for market rate lies, 50% of them are empty. Address that before resources are consumed and our community is more dense than what it is. That's my argument about the housing component.
So we can discuss this at our meeting.
I'm sorry, but we need to kind of move the conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to close it. I just wanted to make, you know, you could always, again, come to our meetings and vice versa, but I just wanted your section to be, you know, to read the whole thing, but really focus in on housing and really focus in on environmental. That's the real stuff that they really want to change. So we really got to be on top of it. And also the community residents also need to also look at it. So you can't, and I'm just going to say this, I'm going to close out. You can't make decisions when you're not reading what they're proposing. So you can't just say no for everything. You got to say no for what it is that we're talking about. If it's this section, the reason we don't want it or we want it is because of X, Y, and Z. And I will have my minutes, and that's all I ask. And I'm finished.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia.
You're welcome.
We'll consider that one action item. We'll vote on that as a board. As an exec, honestly, well, actually, I think we'll consider when we get to that section. We can probably do this common consent. It's a request from the committee for information. I don't see an issue with that. We can probably just do that and we can get you that copy. And I would probably say this, I would probably recommend you get your own clean copy from the state. So this way, you know that this is your copy, requested by the board, delivered directly to you, and you can do whatever you need to do with that as well. And then you'll make your recommendations in terms of further actions from that point. But we'll take that up a little bit later when we then start doing voting.
And I just wanted to say everybody can get their own clean copy because I think Dante sent it out to not only board members, but I think he sent it out, if I'm not mistaken, he sent it out to the public too. So you can download it or do what you want to do. And
When I say clean copy, that's a copy that came from somebody else in the community. And this is not to say that it's not the original one or there's no redactions or edits, but I'd rather get what the state gives us, because then we're saying this is per what the state gave us. This is the information that's contained in there, and you'll be able to make your own.
No, I'm talking about, it was sent to us.
Right, Jay sent a copy of the deed. And what I'm saying is, we got a copy of the deed.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I agree.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. But I was talking about I guess I'm talking about something different. I was talking about the New York City land use decision-making process. I was suggesting that everybody download and read that because they can do that. And also, and you're talking about the deed part, right? That we get our own clean copy? Okay,
Correct.
Great. I like that. Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, we have one action item for ULURP that we'll consider. Okay, next. Naomi, you've been waiting patiently. Chair of Education and Library.
Have you noticed that I've been waiting patiently? Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Naomi Baptiste. I am the Chair for Education and Library. Good evening to everyone. Last night we had our meeting. It was a productive conversation due to low quorum. But a few things that we're going for, trying to start or begin to work on a reading program for the District 17 school district for under Community Board 9. Trying to have a reading program because there's a lot of literacy discrepancies in education. And also we want to pull in the library because there's a lot of low numbers in the usage of the resource of the library or the current 2 libraries that we have in our community. The first one is the Crown Heights Library, and the second one is the library on Eastern Parkway. Those are our 2 mini libraries, and then you have the big one at Grand Army Plaza. For the Crown Heights Library, we want to come in partnership with them to help with a readathon that we are thinking about having. Also, with the readathon, the district office sent out some invitations to our superintendent of District 17 of the education of this school district. Also an invitation to the President's Council of all the PTAs within District 17 of what Community Board 9 covers. So we're waiting for feedback from those invitations because a lot of people on the committee stated that they really are not aware of where education is. So my idea is to bring everyone up to speed with the people who can answer the questions. Superintendent, the PTA presidents, President's Council, and also in conjunction with Community Education Council of District 17. So these are the invitations that we have on the floor. We're just waiting to see, when that will come about because the invitations were sent out. I'm just waiting back for their reply of what they have available. Also, we're throwing around some ideas about an event. Mostly all these events is gonna probably occur in 2023 because we're working on some big things. Hopefully get collaboration through all the committees because I believe education just doesn't stop at the child. It also works with the parent and also to bring the community aware of the special education system that we rarely get to talk about. It's always general education, but unfortunately in Community Board 9, so far in my research is that there are only 2 District 75 programs, which are the special ed programs within this district. So in school district, one is housed at MS 61, the junior high school. So it's a junior high school District 75 program. And then they have another, don't quote me because I don't remember the address right off the top of my head. So we're working to try and see how we can help that population as well. I have a son that goes to school under this community, and he is reading at a 1st grade level, and he is in 4th grade. So I'm noticing from my own personal experience and being a PTA president of my son's school and also a Community Education Council member as well. I'm noticing that a lot of children have a lot of deficit in literacy, and literacy is the foundation of all education. And since our libraries are at low resource, it would be a beautiful idea to bring all of that full circle and hoping to work with the youth services and every service on this lovely Community Board 9. Nicholas Allamore came to the meeting. I was a part of Parks and Recreation a while ago, and he had asked me when I was there, I had made some suggestions, and these suggestions are coming into fruition. So we're still working on it, so I don't want to disclose unless he wants me to. And he stated he wanted to work with us because what his project is working on is through the school system. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns, you can get my information from the district office and we can have a conversation. I'm available and I'm hands-on. So thank you for your time. Good night.
Okay, hold on. Thank you very much for the report. Are there any questions for the Education Library Chair? Seeing none, I have one. I was very interested in hearing your outreach to especially the educational leadership in the district. And I think that this might be an opportunity for us to do something that I haven't heard of in a while, where perhaps we can get an educational summit where we can get the superintendent, we can get the CEC, we can get the President's Council. Probably not going to get all the PTA presidents, but as many of the PTA presidents in the district as possible to really have those frank conversations about the goals and the things we need to be doing in the district. So that might be something that I think would be very beneficial. It can level set and it also gives marching orders for all the different parts as well. So from the DOE side, this is what we're looking for. And it also might inform what kind of assistance they would want specifically from CV9 and the Education Committee. So that's something we, just to think about, and we can definitely talk about that offline as well. But thank you and the committee for all the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say that I have worked with some things in the past with the District 75 population because I have a son who also is in District 75. Unfortunately, he was going to school here for he was in special ed in a general ed school, but they didn't have enough supports for him. So I had to transfer him out of the district to get the support and then join a committee, a council to bring support to this district. So it's very important that if you have anything or anyone who is special needs, not just children, because the children become adults and they end up becoming parents. And then it's, depending on, it keeps going. And if you can't help one, you might lose all. So no problem. And I'd love to talk to everybody. And like I said, if you ever want to come to one of the meetings, you can ask the district office for the schedule. And if anybody have any questions, you can get my information from the district office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Okay, so we are now going to go, I see Warren, you chair the Economic Development Committee.
Yes, hi, everybody. Good evening. We had a meeting, I believe, Monday night. And while we didn't have quorum, we had some very good information. We were able to focus our objectives for the year, which are 2 objectives. Number 1 is we'll be working with a 501c organization to do a commercial evaluation of CV9. And that has to do with landlords, merchants, empty stores, etc. And the objective will be, what can we do to increase this? As a side note, I do want to say there's been a lot of new businesses opening on Nordstrom Avenue, and it's really good to see. And also on Rogers Avenue, there's this one particular restaurateur who has 4 or 5 facilities that he's opened. And, it's really great to see, and it makes complete sense because the rents on Rogers are lower than Nordstrom. But I do see a resurgence, and that's my personal opinion. The second thing is that we'll be pursuing an agreement with another merchants association that goes from Parkside down to Flatbush. No, it's on Flatbush, but it's Parkside all the way down to the Triangle. And what we're going to be working with them on is to extend their working a relationship with their merchants association and have them work with our merchants, with us as partners. And that will go from Parkside to Empire. So there's a lot of work to do. If anybody on the meeting or on the committees are interested in this, we could certainly use all the feet on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Warren. Are there any questions for Warren with respect to economic development? Okay, seeing none. And definitely, I would probably just recommend to see if there's any programs that economic development would like to do to leverage, in terms of possibly partnering with Chase in terms of if there's any support, entrepreneurship, or anything else in terms of business support, small business support. So it might be something for us to look into.
Okay, let's see what they have to offer. Because in my experience, let's hear the details. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Are there there any other chairs that we have not heard from this evening? I apologize if I skipped you.
Housing, Fred.
Beverly, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Please, you have the floor.
The majority of our meeting was about Kingsbrook and Kingsborough and the housing that they want to do there. So because it involves state funding, we've sent an invitation to Brian Cunningham, who is state, and Zelnor Myrie, who is state as well, to come to our next housing meeting for their input. For all of the people in the room who aren't aware, Brian Cunningham came in on the bottom end of approving the budget. That's when he was elected. So he had an opportunity to speak on the new budget, make any changes if he needed to, but we don't know what he did. So we're asking him, did he make any changes to affect the Vital Brooklyn project? And we're asking Zelnor to come in because he's state as well, and they're kind of partners. So outside of what I discussed earlier, as far as Kingsborough, that is the other item we discussed also. So we're waiting for both of them or either of them to respond now.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions for the housing chair? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. There is one last committee report which I'll provide for transportation. We have not appointed a transportation committee chair as yet, so I served as the ad hoc chair for this meeting. So at the meeting, it was pretty good actually in terms of, I think it's one of the stronger committees. So they definitely had a lot of conversations, a lot of things that they have in flight and things they want to see completed. There was a presentation by Transportation Alternatives in which they addressed the board in terms of some of the things that perhaps we would want to look at with respect to improving traffic safety, different changes we can make with respect to transportation within the district. So, and I think that goes along with a lot of the fact finding and information gathering the committee has been doing in terms of trying to get the information with respect to some of the improvements we would want to see transportation wise. Let me see, the district office is right now in the process of compiling outstanding requests that we have with Department of Transportation. So we have requests that have been going on in the district that have dragged on for a number of years with regards to speed cameras, speed humps, traffic lights, and a number of troublesome intersections. So what the district office is doing, and they're working and contacting Department of Transportation to get statuses on these things to see where they stand, if things have been advanced, are they being canceled, or even just get time frames. Because we've received a number of complaints with respect to that in the district. So we want to make sure that we're able to get the answers and push conversations as necessary regarding that. One of the things that was discussed as well, it was introduced with respect to, there's a project that's being mulled on Flatbush Avenue on the B41 corridor. So there was actually a presentation that was done last month. So what we are looking to do is actually move this forward to a board level initiative where we actually want to do a town hall on the B41 corridor, particularly regarding that section that falls within CD9. So we can try and start generating ideas and get thoughts on what needs to be done, but at the same time, set parameters around what we would like to see there as well. So this is something that we'll be working with the district office, and we'll contact the Department of Transportation to try and an MTA to come in and also just make sure we make this a conversation that's a community-wide conversation so we can really understand the pain points. So that's something we're going to try and schedule as soon as possible. It's going to be something, we're going to see what happens. It's probably going to be in the next couple of months. November, December are notoriously difficult because of the holiday season, but we're going to try and see what we can do, and we'll try and get word out as quickly as possible as to when we're able to do that, venue, format, and so on. Additionally, one of the things that a couple of other questions they had, there was supposed to be a city bike expansion that was supposed to also come into the district. Because of the pandemic, there were a number of changes and things that were put off. So one of the things we're going to be doing is making an inquiry to find out where the city stands with that, where City Bike still stands with that, where locations are going to be, if they're planned, and to see how that affects and if there's any conversations that should be had. And lastly, there's a lot of bike conversations. With I think one of the questions that came up was regarding a bike lane survey in the district to understand what exactly we have in inventory, to see what is necessary, required, desired, and also to discuss parameters around if they are placed in the district or if there are possible locations, what parameters would be around those as well. So yeah, that concluded that, but we have a couple of action items, well, not action items, but we have a couple of items where we're trying to get additional information so we can see where we're pushing as a committee and as a board. So additional information will be coming. There were no action items specifically for the board to consider this evening, but we'll definitely work on informing the board and trying to make sure that everybody's in the loop in terms of where they're moving. I will take a couple of questions with respect to transportation.
Hey, it's Warren. I'm very interested in what the plans are for the Empire Boulevard reconstruction. As we all know, there's a lot of reconstruction going on, especially at the east and west ends on Utica Avenue, as well as Flatbush, actually Washington. So for the major part of Empire Boulevard, from Utica to Washington, has there been any discussion or insights of what they're planning with bike lanes? Would it be a protected bike lane? Because it's a very dangerous area to travel. So if that's not on the agenda, I'd like to put it on.
Well, that's one of the conversations, and that's why they wanted to do the bike lane survey. My understanding is I think most of that eastern end of that project is mostly done. So if there are any plans with respect to bike lanes, I'm not sure, but we'll, that's part of the inquiry we want to make in terms of the survey. On the western end, I think that you see that they already started the work in terms of they've done most of, and there's been delays with that between adding more, I think changing sewer lines out. I think the project was including closing that slip lane that was coming off of Washington. I think they've been making progress on that. That whole intersection was a mess, but I think, and they were supposed to be doing some traffic calming things around there. But but that's the thing, we're working on getting updates on all of those.
Yeah, and Empire Boulevard won't be part of the survey because it's already planned. So when's your next meeting?
That we'd have to check, and I'll
check.
discuss that in the chairman's report.
Excellent.
The
Thank you.
next couple of months are going to be fun, so and I want all the chairs to understand that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. All right then. Okay, so that are there any other chairs that have not had an opportunity to report? Okay, hearing none, I do want to thank everyone for all the work that you're doing. There's a lot going on in this district, and just from hearing the reports, there's a lot of great conversations happening, and I'm looking forward to to them moving the needle forward in terms of improving the different areas in the district. I thank all the chairs for all your work. And again, I think one of the things I want to say, and I'll reiterate this, I see it already where we're having problems with people coming for these meetings. So I'm really going to rely on you to let us know and raise your hands when there are issues and who's having the problems. So that way we can do whatever work we need to around the committees to try and make sure that, you're able to function. That's not acceptable for us to not have quorum for meetings. Okay, all right, we are now going to move on in the agenda to the CB9 administrative check-in. Dante, do you have a report for us?
Yes, good night, everyone. All right, I will get through it. So on Wednesday, October 26th, board office and anyone else who has the capacity, we're teaming up with Clean Up Crown Heights, which is an organization that cleans up across Crown Heights, both Crown Heights North and South. I submitted a location to them. We've been receiving a lot of inquiries just over the past year about Empire Boulevard. So I submitted the location, Empire Boulevard between Nostrand and McKeever Place. So we're going to have, that event's going to start at, well, that cleanup is going to start at 6:30 p.m. promptly at Empire Boulevard and McKeever Place. Gloves and trash bags will be provided. If you have your own gloves and if you happen to have like a headlamp and you're able to participate, please bring that with you because it's likely going to get dark earlier. So yeah, if you have that material, please bring that with you. Next, CB9 in partnership with DCAS the Department of Citywide Administrative Services will be holding a Civil Service 101 information session. That session will be November 2nd, starting at 7 p.m. It will be online via Zoom. And so you can go onto our calendar right now, and the information, you can register for that on our website. Also, so our Outlook has been acting kind of weird lately. So we're trying to send out calendar invites. We hear that calendar invites are helpful for a lot of people. So if you get a calendar invite, please accept it. We're going to try to start using those so they get automatically added to folks' calendars. We have heard this, so we're going to try this out and do it as best as possible. So you're going to start seeing that happen more often. So please accept those calendar invites so we know who's going to be able to participate in whatever endeavors. Next, I did send out an email to all the committee chairs regarding if you guys are going to meet in November. With the holidays, a lot of the meetings, the exec and the general board have been pushed up. We know that people travel, so we want to try to at least have full meetings for the month. If you haven't responded to that email, please just shoot me a response. I just want to let you know that December will likely be the same way with all the holidays and traveling. So just expect that. Let's see. On Monday, this coming Monday, October 24th, the board's going to hold its usual statement of needs and budget hearing prior to the general board meeting. I just want to encourage everyone to encourage residents to participate and provide testimony in the hearing. The district needs statement, we were able to upload them to our website today. So if anyone's looking for them, they can just find them on there. But I would implore everyone to go in there, see some of the items that have been on there the past couple of years. We know that some of the items have been on there year after year. So we want to try to identify those, prioritize those, and get true responses, not the company line from city agencies. So definitely encourage anyone that you know who's interested in city services coming to the district, capital or expense, whatever it may be, encourage them to come out to the public, the hearing, the budget hearing. Also, my district service cabinet is next Tuesday. We're having our general board on the Monday. So updates from the district service cabinet, I will just send out a paper, an email with those notations. Also, I've already submitted a request. I'm sure that many of you already know that there was a fire at Ebbets Field a couple of days ago. I've already inquired about exactly what happened there. I think that is extremely important for the Public Safety Committee to know, and everyone to know exactly what happened with the fire and what caused it. So once we get that report, that will be shared. I think that is important. Once we get that report, and identify exactly what that is to promote education to hopefully prevent that in other apartments. So once we get that, that will be disseminated as well. I just wanted to update and say that through the conversation tonight, I've been hearing this. The Citizen Budget Commission report is already on our website. So if you just go to the news section, you can go ahead and download it for your leisure. Also, the B41 bus presentation that Fred was talking about is also on our website. So you can go ahead and download that for your leisure as well. And then let's see, one last thing. The Empire Reconstruction, I believe that they're scheduled to finish their work on November 7th. I will confirm that in the district service cabinet coming up next week and report back to you all on that, but I believe it's November 7th. And with that, that's my report.
Thank you very much, Dante. Are there any questions for the district manager? Once, going twice. Incredible. I've never seen that before.
Hey, wait, before you go. Sorry. Dante, what building was it in Ebbets Field?
Oh,
and how many engines were required? Do you know?
I do not know. I don't have the information, but I will get the information and I will make sure that it's disseminated to you and, well, disseminated to the board. I think that the board should know what happened, but I'll make sure that you get the information. I will ask those questions.
Okay, thanks, Dante.
No problem.
Because I knew it was too good to be true, so I do see a couple more questions. We see Pat, we see Debbie, and then we're gonna have to move on because we do have a few items we have to continue on with. We're gonna close on Debbie. Go ahead, Ms. Moses.
Yeah, Dante, good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to know, could you send us a list of your cabinet members?
Sure. I can send you a list of the cabinet members, yes.
Can you send it to all of the boards so they are aware of who they are?
Yeah, I can send it to the board, but if we're going to talk about like logistics and how this operates, it's important for me as a district manager to have a relationship with the agencies. What I have noticed is that, and this is fine, you know, it's for every other agency. They have their own rules in terms of giving out their email addresses. But what I've noticed is that a lot of board members will email an agency representative, not inform the board office, have a completely a different conversation offline with an agency representative, and then come back and ask questions as if I was supposed to know, you know, what was supposed to happen. And so what I would like to do, because, you know, the district service cabinet is part of my position, is, you know, be informed. And so if information could come through the board office, I ask them questions, have real conversations with them about what's going on. You know, part of my job is to report back, and I would kindly ask for, you know, that responsibility to stay with the district service cabinet.
Well, I don't really want to know their email or anything like that. We want to know who they are, and we've always known who they are.
Understood.
I'm not asking for their email or anything like that. I understand we have to go through the district office, and I'm willing to follow that process. But I think that as board members, we should know who in the world who are they, or should somebody else be added?
Yeah, that's fair. I hear you. I can generate that, of course.
Right.
Dante, can you ask about Pacific Properties? Like, if I pass a question to you about Ebbetsfield, can you ask about it? Or does it have to be community-wide?
I would still say ask and see what comes of it. It depends really what the inquiry is. I would say ask and let's try it. Why not?
All right, thanks.
Okay. I would remind board members, let's please not call out. Let's make sure we raise hands so that way everybody can be recognized. Debbie,
sorry, Fred.
All right, Debbie, we hear you, and we're going to close on you. Go ahead.
So my question is for Beverly, with regards to Ebbetsfield.
Debbie,
Is there a recycling program there?
Ebbetsfield doesn't have a recycling program, Debbie.
Is there a reason why?
Debbie,
Management doesn't want one.
This is a report for the district manager. If you have a question for the district manager, we'll take that.
Oh,
Otherwise, we.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that in quickly. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Oh, I just want to say, Dante, you don't have to list the names. Just say who you have, somebody from transportation, and that way you won't have any problems.
I hear you.
You understand? Just list who you have, like transportation, but you don't have to put a name to it.
I hear you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, so we're now going to move on to the next item in the agenda, the chairman's report. We got a few items on here. I'm going to try and go through them as quickly as possible, but some of them are probably going to be a little bit more lengthy. Now, I'm trying to avoid anything that's already been discussed. First thing I want to discuss or report on is the monthly hearing format. So I want to thank the district office team for putting together the monthly hearing last month, and for helping us make sure that we're in compliance with the city mandates. That was something that we had not been in a long time. So that's really the first monthly hearing we had in recent memory, as far as I know. So I want to thank them for putting that on there. And I want to thank the board as well and the community for working with us as we go through the growing pains and we learn from these as well. I definitely, we received feedback from that first hearing. And one of the things I think that, some of the takeaways we got were, it's probably not helpful to have multiple items on there because it really doesn't give people an opportunity to speak on the topic for the month. So what we're probably looking at in terms of adjustments is that we're going to limit the topics. It'll probably be one for that month. And And, as was discussed before, when we've exhausted that topic, that'll be when we will conclude the hearing, and then we will roll right into the general board hearing. So part of that was, the original thinking was to say, okay, well, listen, we'll also take SLA applications and listen to them then. That's probably a little bit messier. So the idea would be we would roll them back as part of the general meeting. Again, what I think is going to happen is this will allow us to be able to flex into the meeting depending on how long, or if it's a short public hearing that month, it still allows us to be able to do that, but still hit all the requirements for the board for the month. And still, again, I think this is one of those things we're trying to get feedback and learn as we go along. So if there are other suggestions, please feel free to share those with myself and the district office, and we can see what we can do to implement those and to make sure that we're doing it as efficiently as we can. Okay, so I'm going to skip this one. Dante spoke with respect to the statement of needs. So the only thing I would ask is for everyone to please make sure that you go to the website, and Dante, please, if you can, create a link for the board as well. Please review those and identify those things that we need to be making priorities in the district. So if there are new priorities that are not mentioned, if there are things that we need to reshuffle in terms of what's more urgent, please be prepared to make those recommendations at the hearing. So that way we'll be able to compile that and send that to the city in compliance with the city charter mandate. Okay, it's been mentioned, and I just want to reiterate this. I want to thank everyone again for their cooperation. The first few months of the board year are difficult because we deal with a number of holidays, which really force the moving around of a lot of the schedules. So we really, in many instances, we don't end up meeting on that fourth Tuesday of the month, really until the beginning of the next year. So I thank everyone for flexing with us and working with us. Now, with respect to that, there are going to be changes because of the movement of the exec and the general board meeting for next month, and it's going to be I expect it's going to be a very similar situation in December. So I would ask for you as the committee chairs and leadership to please consider your meeting schedules and look at it on a year-long basis. You are required as committees to meet 5 times minimum per year. So, if it makes sense for your committee where you can skip a November meeting or a December meeting, it helps the office in that sense in terms of being able to schedule and move things around. And also we can make sure we do these things and give people as much notice so that way people aren't caught off guard when they find out their normally scheduled meeting is moved. So we would just ask you to please, I think Dante had sent out an email to all the chairs. Please review that, and I would even say think ahead to December as well in terms of how you would like to proceed with that and let the district office know as quickly as possible. As much as I think we were going to try, we'll take requests in terms of when we can move is going to depend on what committees are meeting when and when we juggle and when the holidays fall. So let's start the conversation now so we can try and get that accomplished as best as possible. Also wanted to discuss the budget request forms. So, I'm hearing a lot of great activity coming from all the committees, and this is phenomenal. That's exactly what we want to see. Part of what we want to do is make sure that one, as a committee, if you vote on an event, we had created the budget request form because that gives us as an executive committee and the board a lot of the information we would want to know about your event as we consider them. And to be clear, the committee can't just do the event on its own. It's responsible for developing, planning, getting the information ready. Once it commits to that, then it would come to the executive committee, which serves the oversight function. And then if the executive, doesn't have any questions and it sounds good to go, then we're able to promote that to the general board. And part of the reason why we do that is one, because we want to make sure that these are board supported. And we just want to make sure that all the good work and all the questions are asked before you proceed. So that way there's nothing after the fact where you say, well, why didn't you do that? Or who knew about that? Or who authorized these things? So the budget request form. And if there are questions about filling out those forms, please feel free to let Dante or myself know, and we can talk you through that process as well. One of the things I've said, and if there's events that you're planning in the future, that's okay. If you know you want to do this event, still complete the forms. As a matter of fact, more heads up time is better because it allows us to start looking at your program, and we can say, in the short term, this is what the board can support. Or if there are additional resources that are required, we can start having conversations about who can we bring in to help us hit those goals. Or if it's necessary to adjust budgets and everything like that, we can have those conversations. But please make use of those budget request forms, and again, reach out to Dante and the team, and we can help you, guide you through that process. All right. Yes, I also wanted to talk about attendance. And again, this is something this is a pain point. I hear the pain coming from all the committee chairs. It's hard to do what you need to do when, you have 7 and you only get 3 or 4 who are even showing up in a month. That sets committees back a lot. One of the things that we've done is that, it used to be that we required members to come to at least, commit to at least 2 committees a month. We found that was too much. So we lowered the requirement to what the charter requirement is, 1 meeting a month, 1 committee. But we're asking for everyone to please respect that and show for those committees, because you're feeling the effects now. When you don't show, that means that there's, quorum isn't met. When quorum isn't met, that means you can't proceed with the business. And that's a disservice to all those who honor the commitment and show up, and to the district, in terms of we don't get to move these things forward. So I would ask all the chairs to please make sure, if you are having issues with attendance, particularly at this early stage, let us know so we can move the conversations forward. And first of all, let me say this. I'm not saying that we're moving conversations to get people off the board, because people have lives and things happen to people as well. So we fully understand that. So one of the things we want to do is first make sure people are okay. And then from there, we'll take whatever steps we need to make adjustments. But we want to make sure that we're moving those conversations now, as opposed to 3 or 4 months later when a lot more damage has been done. Okay, next I have statement of needs, board committee, budget request form. Let's move on to item C, the bylaws amendment proposals. So at the last executive meeting, I had set a number of amendments that I felt were necessary to our bylaws. These are coming from me in conversations that I've had with a number of people over the years, referencing documents, because we've had previous bylaws committees that had started doing work. And as chair, some of the things that I've noticed as well, in terms of things that are not efficient. Some of the reasons why I put forth some of the things I did is because I want us to be efficient. Our meetings shouldn't be about having complicated processes where we discuss how we do things. Our meetings need to be about doing the business of the district. So some of the amendments that I'm putting forward are saying, let's get rid of the stuff that we don't need to be committing time to, or things that take an inordinate amount of time, so that way we can really get back, again, to doing the main thing, doing the business of the board. So I submitted those 11 amendments and some text changes that were just cleanup in terms of if there was language that was repetitive, or if it wasn't, language that needed clean up. We did some of that, but then I had proposed those 11. Part of the process that we had said is that we wanted to make sure that all board members had an opportunity as well to weigh in terms of what they felt was necessary in terms of changing to give us the structure we need to be successful and efficient. So that went out on, so a Google form was created. That went out on Monday, October 3rd. That was open for just under 2 weeks. So I think we closed that on October 14th. And periodic reminders sent to the district office, by the district office. And from that, we've got an additional 5 amendments that were provided, and those were provided to the executive committee. I would say this, one of those 5 is actually one of mine, and that actually is a refinement on one of the amendments that I had proposed. So really, in reality, it's 4 amendments that have been provided for the executive committee to consider. The other thing was too, and I know that there were definitely questions and concerns about the process. Again, I think that one of the reasons why we want to push this process forward is because I think one of the things that we're learning hard is that creating more committees to do more work when there are no members to do the work is counterproductive. We want to find ways to push the business ahead as efficiently as possible, and definitely make sure that the conversations are happening in the places where they need to happen. So with that, I think that it was one of those reasons why we said, okay, let's put those and get those ideas generated. And we can discuss what the process is going to be for discussing, vetting, and offering amendments to them as well. And as well as socializing these. So these are being provided today. At the last general board meeting, the commitment was that we were not going to move forward on a process, where rather we were going to actually have this reviewed by the executive committee to discuss what's there, to see what's clean, to see what needs to be enhanced, and talk about next steps that we would actually go forward with in moving this down. If there's additional commentary, if there's additional work, or whatever, whatever other recommendations the executive committee might have. So with that, that completes my report for now. I will open the floor to questions. Second, I'll just take a quick list and then we'll start off from there. So Ms. Moses, I do see you. I'll call you in a second. Any other questions? Tyree, I do see you. Hold on. Newsom, I do see you. I have you on the list. All right, let's start with you three. If anyone else would like to speak, please use the raise hand function and we'll add you to the speakers list. And I'll put myself down there as well. Okay, Ms. Moses, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes, this is just a recommendation. What I would really like to see is that the executive committee go back into session as they did in the past. For instance, we were supposed to come forward just to give you all the information on what we did, period. And then it wasn't a question and answer thing. And then it went on to the executive committee, because what I'm seeing now is the executive committee is they're not making decisions. And it kind of disturbs me as to what's going on, because if it's going to be a long situation, I think where people want to talk about it, I think they should come to our meetings, because that's the only reason that we were there. I would like to sit in, as I've done in the past, on a real executive session where you'll actually vote on issues to bring forward to the entire board. And that is my recommendation. And it's a real serious one, because to me, when one gets elected to the executive committee, you are the overseers of the board, of the district office. So you're supposed to know what's going on in all of those. And if we can't hear the meetings that you're having, then there is no executive committee. So I'd like to see that back in place. And I like to see us just do and say what we have to say, and let us listen to what y'all are voting on.
I mean, regarding that, I think what we've been pushing for is, and the reason why we have these meetings run, I know, longer than anybody would like. But I think the reason why we have these is so that way we know what's going on in each of the committees. We're having the chairs let us know what the issues are, what's going on, what things are being pushed, and again, to that oversight aspect of it, so then we're able to act on that. So there's going to be a vote. There will be votes that we do, but also I think we're also respectful of the fact that, ultimately the general board is what decides these things. But as an executive committee, one of the things we're going to do is filter what gets up to that level, because we definitely don't want to do this when we have 43 people on the line and have these conversations that really need to be done at smaller levels.
No, I think, and I'm gonna cut it short. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. The reason that we're coming forward to you, to the executive committee, we're just giving you an overview of what we did. That's it. So that y'all can now listen to what's going on, but it shouldn't be no question and answer. We should be listening to y'all in terms of what is being brought forward. And that includes the office, what's going on in that darn office. It includes what you're going to bring to the board, that you're voting to bring to the board. That's how I see it, and that's how it's always been. So I would like to see the executive committee do some executive work.
Okay, comment noted. Thank you.
Wait, Fred, before you move on, can we ask Patricia to give an example? Because I don't understand what she's saying.
Okay, an example, and you've been here as long as me. Before we used to come forward and as chairs, that we would say what was happening, and we would bring anything forward, and we say like what was happening in our meeting and what needs to be addressed. And if the committee had anything to ask us about what's going on, they would ask us. And then they would also have an agenda where they vote on certain things to bring forward to the actual board. And then let's just say Dante is giving a report. Well, they're listening to Dante's report and to see how what's going on in that office. So you've been there and you've been as long as me, so you know what I'm talking about in terms of
Yeah.
the input.
And you feel now is different?
I feel now that the executive boards are not voting on anything. They're just sitting there and going, at the end of the day, everybody's voting on what? And they should be voting on
Okay,
what
you're
is
saying we're
actually
giving
happening
them,
overall.
you're saying the items that we're giving them, they're moving to the floor. Where
No,
before they voted on what would go on the agenda and what wouldn't.
Yes, and they had their own thing where they actually looked at the whole program. And I think Fred was a part of that too. So we've been here a long time. So I think we kind of got away from that. And because at the end of the day, what goes forward is not what the chair says, it's what the executive is saying. So if the executive say we moving forward, we moving forward. And that's just it. That's all I have to say. And I would like to get back to that so that if you say you are an executive, make some executive decisions. That's all I have to say. And I want to listen to your meetings too. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right, Kyrie, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kyrie Aline here, CB9 Community Board member. I'm the member at large. So I wanted to say a few things. First and foremost, I thought that everyone that's new stepping up in their roles of being chairs on the committees, some of, I want to say my cohort that joined when I did last year, doing an amazing job. With that being said, I definitely want to speak to really briefly the bylaws. I know that there are lots being said that in the general board meeting, there were decisions made that potentially the executive board would, oversee the process for amending the bylaws. And I know you just mentioned too, Fred, that about the initial email that was sent out on October 3rd. But on September 26th, initially, when you sent out the first email with, your proposed amendments, two, I do think it is time. So I say thank you for that, because I too last year was asking about the bylaws. Our bylaws have not been updated since, and this is also to address the public commentary that was made earlier by the community. Our bylaws in CB9 for Brooklyn has not been amended since 2008. Back in 2008, just look at our counterparts for CB9 in Manhattan. They amended their bylaws in 2008. Again, I believe in 2018. And lastly in 2018. And it is time for us to amend our bylaws. However, we do need to have the community input. I do believe that we definitely need to have a separate committee formed specifically for the bylaws, like a bylaws committee, something that the chair is able to, and the executive board produce special committees similar to what we did for the nominations. And especially seeing as the Euler committee, a chairperson was just suggesting that they need a subcommittee just to review the 77-page decision-making process. With the city charter and our bylaws, this is well over hundreds of pages that needs to be reviewed. And I don't think that this should be done by the executive board, especially seeing as some of the changes that need to be made. I think it represents the community that needs to weigh in and also the entire board. So I believe a subcommittee should be formed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Beverly, go ahead.
This is kind of going to involve us, Fred. If I remember correctly, historically, we had 3 different chairs attempting to form bylaws committees to change the bylaws because they were ambiguous. That is what we did. And in each one of those chairs attempted to do that for various reasons, the committees were unable to bring the new bylaws to fruition. And if I'm understanding it correctly, that's why you did this. Created the Google Doc, for all of us to input on a team effort, if I understand correctly, because the bylaws need to be changed and times are moving fast and the bylaws aren't being changed. That was my interpretation. But I said that to say this: one, put things in perspective. It's not like we haven't created a committee before in an attempt to change the bylaws, because we had 3 different chairs who attempted to do that, right? But one thing I discovered, that when we were sent reminders by the office to implement or to suggest new bylaws, I felt like I was operating in a silo. We know as we're going through the bylaws, some of the ones that need to be changed, but bylaws are the structure that governs a body. And it's difficult to do something like that in a silo, because you need to hear feedback from your peers. So even though I had apprehensions about the Google Doc with the bylaws, and I expressed that to you before, I think the reason it's possible, I'm not sure, but I think it's possible because we should have had a whole lot more input, not input, there should have been a whole lot more suggestions on the Google Doc, a whole lot more, because of how our bylaws are. But like I said, it's difficult to create something like that that's pretty much a living document in a silo. That's hard to do. I'm speaking for Beverly though. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, and definitely, well, I think one of the things is, and just to go back a little bit, one of the first attempts we were trying to do was make this something that was definitely much more in a collaborative environment. So we had looked at things in terms of, okay, well, how can we make this a Google Doc where we can have a number of editors? Well, let me go back a little bit. And I think you kind of made a little bit of the point. We've had 3 bylaws committees. Yeah, at least 3 bylaws committees that that you said it in memory, and we haven't gotten the output that we wanted to get in that. And I'm looking at that from one, how successful is that committee format in terms of doing that? Do we need to be committed to that? If it's changes we're looking for, I think members know what the changes are. But I'm sorry, but going back to a second where it's like we were saying, okay, well, we looked at how can we do this in a collaborative way. One of the first things we wanted to do is there a Word document or a Google document that we can put out there where everyone can work on this together? That turned into a nightmare from the initial experiments we did, because between if someone likes this and someone doesn't like that, and someone wants to make a minor change and someone wants to take out that minor change, it just got to the point where it was so unwieldy that you would never understand what actually was being asked and what the actual change was.
And that's what I'm talking about right there. Right. Individuals sitting around the table, having that conversation back and forth, feeding off of that energy, be it good, be it bad, but in the end result being a product.
Understood.
That's what I was talking about.
Understood, but that hasn't worked 3 times from what you said. And we're both there. I mean, it hasn't worked 3 times.
True. But at the same time too, in all honesty, Fred, those committees, and I'm remembering this as well, those individuals were assigned to those committees, but they were never, listen, you're on the bylaws committee, these are the tasks at hand, this is your deadline for this is your deadline for this. They were never really treated as a group with an assignment. They were treated as, this is what you're supposed to do. And it was tasked with whenever you get around to it. That was the underlying nonverbal cue of that. It wasn't, you are the bylaws committee, please meet every 2 weeks or every 3, whatever. It wasn't treated like a real project, which is it's a changing the bylaws was a real project, but it was never treated like that. The committee was never tasked like that I can remember. It wasn't tasked like that. It was tasked, yes, this is what you need to do, but the underlying nonverbal cue was whenever you get around to it. And I think that's why we don't have a final product.
Okay. But what I'm proposing is different here is we actually have some recommendations and the floor was open and you know, to that extent, I think that's a conversation. Does it still need to be open for additional recommendations? Is what's here satisfactory or are there pieces missing? And you know, honestly, that's one of the things I'd be a little bit frustrated with because if we give you an opportunity, we tell you 5 or 6 times, here's the bylaws, here's the thought. And you know, and I would challenge everyone where it's like your individual thought in your silo is okay, that's fine. Because your recommendations are the bylaws as you understand them, as opposed to in context with 5 other people. And I think that's one of the things we want to get out, where people are able to just put your thoughts on it. Whether you are somebody who's been on the board, you know, who has tenure like you and I, or if it's a new member and we have one of those recommendations who went through it, and she just simply had to say, listen, I don't like the language in there where it's like it's chairman, chairwoman, everywhere it is. Just make it chairperson and make it clean. I think from that perspective, it really gives everyone to give your input in what you see as critical to making those changes. Now, if there's additional work that needs to be done, I think that's the conversation. How do we improve the document? How do we, you know, are there things that are really missing that should be in there? How do we get that out there and how do we move forward, which is some of the conversation for this evening. But rather than go back forward, let's get a couple more comments, questions as well. Felice, I see you. Felice? Oh, I can barely hear you.
Yeah, we're just sitting on this board. Can you hear me okay?
It's a really choppy signal. I can
Okay,
hear
we've been sitting on this board.
Me
I
or
consider
you?
it every.
Yeah, Felice, I apologize. I think we have a bad connection.
10 years.
Let's see what you can do on your side. We'll come back to you.
Wait, can you hear me okay?
That's a little bit better. Go ahead, keep going.
Now we can hear you. Oh.
Okay. Let's move forward. We'll come back when Felice comes back. Is there any, hold on, are there any new comments? And then we'll come back as I see Kyrie and Ms. Moses back again. All right, Ms. Moses, go ahead, and then Kyrie, and I have a couple comments.
Oh, okay. I just want to say in terms of, you know, when you're talking about the bylaws, it does not involve community residents. The bylaws is just if you look at the city charter, what the city charter says, we're just trying to move within the city charter. It is not a committee. And the reason that let me just tell you the reason why those 3 committees didn't work. They wanted to take things that were not in the city charter and put it in there. You don't do that. This is for the community board to operate within the charter. That's what this is about. That's what the bylaws. And if you turn around, if you will go online and look at the bylaws that are from other community boards, you will see that they are similar. So if you will go online, you will see that they are similar. So that's why it came by. You cannot, I see somebody shaking their head, but I'm talking about the involvement when you're talking about bylaws. It's kind of like a policy and procedure on how you operate your office. That's what it really is, if you want to make it short. So you don't turn around and say, okay, well, community people, come on and tell us how to operate our office. That's not what it's all about. We have to look at the city charter, make sure we have everything in order. And in terms of, I think you did a great job in terms of input from the board. And that wasn't, we didn't have that before. And the board got a chance to look at what it is and what you want to change it to. And that's what I think that we need to be looking at, what it is now and what we need to change it to and why we need to change it to that.
Thank you, Ms. Moses. Kyrie, I see your question.
Well, before I go, I know you did say you wanted to do commentary, so I would like to defer over to my co-member at large, Nicholas, and then I can go, if that's okay. Nicholas.
Ms. Almanor, go ahead.
I just wanted.
And I apologize.
I just want to make a comment and a question. The bylaws is like the constitution for this organization, like you have the Constitution of the United States. Changing the bylaws should be similar to making amendment to the Constitution. what does, for anybody that know, what does the city charter, the state constitution said what is the process of amending? I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make an amendment to a document that governs what we do. Do we have any information as to where to get guidance to do that? Because we're having people making comments saying what the process we're going to is illegal. So I need to know if it's illegal, what is the law, what is the section, what is the code, in order for us to do that. Let's find out the proper way to do it. If it's illegal, which means there's a law that governs it. Let's put these out to everybody, so that way we could have absolute clarity on how to proceed.
If I could, hold on a second, please, and I'll
Before my,
well, you know, as long as we got your signal, go ahead, and then Ms. Almanor, I do want to respond to a couple of your points. Go ahead, please. Elise, are you there?
Yeah, I don't think that her audio is working, because when her microphone was off, she was able to talk.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Since I have a response, I'll just speak. But I'll tell you what. Let's see.
Hello. Hi, Vay. Canal.
It's tough. You keep fading in and out. Yeah, I'm sorry, police. We're gonna have to move on to. If you can fix it, we'll try and get you in a little bit. Sol, I do see you. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm not really, I'm still learning and developing on this board, but something that I feel is coming up, and it's happening a little bit here. It happens sometimes in the general body meeting and things.
Jesus Christ.
That I was hoping to just kind of address is that I think that, people have valid points, opinions, and all of these things, but sometimes, being a newer member to this board, sometimes it feels like people are being like very aggressive. And I don't know if there's like personal stuff going on or whatever the case may be. And my thing is that every person that's here is here because like we care about the community. We want changes. We want things to be good. We want to be better. But I would hopefully prefer to see that when we're talking and we're interacting with each other, we're doing it in the vein of being a team, not us against or, this, that, or the other, or snipey or aggressive. And, it's just that it's happening and it feels a little bit uncomfortable. And I just feel as though, and then most of us are people of color, like, I just feel like we got to kind of learn how to interact with each other in a way that becomes conducive to us working together and creating the changes and stuff that needs to be. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not addressing any other issue, but I just feel like we could figure out how to be team. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Well taken too. Okay, so Kyrie, did you want to speak now or?
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you. And so nice to meet you. Welcome. I definitely echo those sentiments. That's how I felt when I initially was here, and respectfully and humbly, I still feel that way at times. So I just want to say something very clear, at least from my understanding of why I am on this community board, a community I was born and raised in, and many of you as well that live. We are representation for the community. And in fact, we are selected to be the voices of the community, in my opinion, or at least that's what I thought. We're all public servants of the community by being made members of the community board. So with that being said, it's never going to be a time I sit here or anywhere, even if it's not a part of this board, and I don't try to be a great voice of reason for our community, no matter who you are. So I believe it was Patricia, my apologies, but I do not agree. And we are here to service the community, and they definitely do need a voice and representation. And we are supposed to be that mouthpiece for them at all times. And it's supposed to be transparent in the open meetings law that's listed right on our website for CP9 and everything else. So I wanted to say that. And I also would like to, because there is some bit of difficulty in trying to understand who should understand the process. That's why a committee should be formed, so that they can do that investigation, so that they can do, take into consideration all of the amendments that has been proposed in a very short window, I might add again. Initially, the email was sent out with Fred's changes of September 26th. October 3rd, we were sent the Google Doc. October 14th, 11 days later, we were asked, people are living lives, they have families, to then give their changes. So the process in itself, though a great one, which also I believe I helped to suggest that we all be able to have commentary. That is a great attempt, however, it's not enough time. And with that being said, in closing, I want to know if it's possible, I would like to move a motion right here for the executive board, the executive committee to vote on having a committee for the bylaws. I would like to move that motion to have a separate committee for the bylaws. Whenever I had to undertake whatever that process would be.
Well, this is Felice. I'm not on the executive board, but I would like to move, I would like to agree with what you're saying. May I speak if I could, please? I agree to what Kyrie is saying for this
I'm sorry,
reason.
hold on, but he has a motion on the floor. So we
Yes.
actually have to, if there's a second, then we're talking about the motion. If there is none, then you'll be able to make your point.
Okay.
Is there a second to Kyrie's motion?
Which is to have a committee, a nominations committee. I meant a bylaw committee formed to oversee the process.
Is this, does the process require a second, Fred? Is that what?
Yes.
It does from the executive.
Well, normally Fred takes over when someone makes a motion to help everyone out, so.
I second your motion, Kyrie.
Unfortunately, it has to be one of the officers.
No, it has to be
Oh, I
either
see.
Nicholas or executive board
Got it,
member.
got it.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Nicholas Almanor. Okay, moved, seconded by Mr. Almanor. All right, so let's discuss.
May I?
Kyrie, hold on, I gotta take a speaker.
May I? May I
So-
please?
I'm sorry, I have to take the speaker because we have the motion on the floor now. Kyrie is the maker, you can speak. Anyone else who wishes to speak on the motion?
I would.
I'll take your name, Ms. Robertson.
I can speak now?
Hold on one second, taking the list. Anyone else?
I'm trying to grab you
I'm
before
gonna-
my internet goes down.
Understood. I know, but I gotta get this. Hold on. And I'll put my name on it. All right, Kyrie, only because, do you mind if she defers, can you go first?
No, of course, I already said the motion. Yeah, okay. Mhm.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyrie. So
Thank you.
I'm going to give you my example. As a chapter chair of DCAS and Oath, I am with the city, as you hear. I am not just with the city, but I'm also with district council. I'm not just with district council, I'm also with AFME. I say that to say this. I too had to do my bylaws over, but in doing so, I had to follow the instructions of the parent, which is the father and the mother of AFME. So I took their guidelines, I also took district council, and I combined them, but knowing that AFME is the father and the mother to decide on how we were going to conduct our chapter moving forward. So I'm just giving that suggestion, seeing that the city charter is who we should follow. If we have a guideline such as this, it should be easy for us to make the decisions or make the provisions for what we need to follow. Thank you. I'm sorry? Did someone say
Open
something?
mic, continue. No, that's okay. It's open mic.
No, that was, I'm sorry, I was talking to my cat.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to say. You know, all we need is guidelines. If we follow the guidelines, we'll be okay.
Thank you for that, police. And Warren, let us know what the cat said back. Kyrie,
He hissed at me, Fred.
Yes, really, because I have a cat and a dog.
I love the laughs. Oh, wait, is it my turn to speak?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, because I noticed other hands. I mean, so again, all of the reasons mentioned regarding and surrounding the whole amending of the bylaws is precisely the reason why I would like to move the motion to form a bylaw committee. I mean, as it is, normally the chair would suggest the members, or like you did the last time for nominations, we'll see if any persons of the board members would like to volunteer to be a part of this committee, but to do the work to make sure that it's done right in accordance with the city charter, also which was mentioned by Felice, also by Nicholas, to make sure everything is done properly. And then we bring it to the board whenever that time is that it's ready, because it could take months, it could take a while. And then we all vote on it as a board collectively. So these are the reasons why we should have a committee for the bylaws committee, as opposed to allowing the executive board make the decisions, in my opinion, because it took a long time for us when we were trying to move a motion for the executive board to decide. Are we realizing that the executive board members are going to be the ones, based on how we just said that the process would go, would be the ones to amend or ratify the bylaws, which I don't think that that's fair. Being an executive board member, it needs to be members of the committee and then presented to the executive board, especially seeing as like 3 other members were trying to move the motion. And I think Nicholas was a little jammed up, but other than that, these are my reasons why I wanted to move that motion. That's what I have to say. And thank you.
Okay, thanks for that.
Hi, this is Warren. I call the question. This is for executive board members to vote on.
Understood.
Warren,
It's a 2/3 vote. Hold on. It's a 2/3 vote. And listen, let's not get into this thing where we want to cut off speech. I would advise, especially for the non-officers, please keep it short, keep it brief per the guidelines. But I don't want to necessarily cut off speech with this as well.
Yeah.
Let's
Just
get to the
as a point, I think we gave Kyrie a lot of time and I
Understood.
understand his issues, and it's
Okay,
great.
Warren, but we're belaboring the point. Kyrie is done. We are going to move on the rest of the speakers
Correct.
list, and we'll get to the question. We will get to the question. Who's next? Sol, I see you, then Ms. Moses, and then I'll speak.
So I'm sorry because I'm a little bit off the topic, but is it possible with these meetings, right? Is there a way to create some kind of like time limit? And I'm not like trying to be disrespectful or anything, but we've been on this meeting since 7 o'clock, right? My mental wherewithal is like really going down, and it feels like a lot of the conversation is circle, 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 circle. So I just wanted to know, like, even with the general body meeting, it's just super duper long. Is there a way for us? I don't know if this is a bylaw or whatever this could be, but I think that we need to really commit to like saying, if this is going to be 2-3 hours, then let it be the 2-3 hours, and have some kind of time constraint with these meetings, because like I had to eat dinner while we're here. We have to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it starts to feel counterproductive. So, that's just a suggestion that I wanted to put in. And then I guess I kind of need clarification around what this executive meeting is, because I thought that this meeting was like for the chairs to present, what we're doing in our committees. We talk about it, we share, and then it's like all this other stuff. So I don't quite understand how this is supposed to be, or like what, and I'm just saying this because y'all, I've been here last year, but I haven't been to this meeting and stuff like that. And I just kind of want to get clarification, because the meeting starts to go in a lot of different directions. So I'm not quite understanding the process.
All right, I'll try and do it in 10 seconds, well, 15 seconds or less. Part of the appointer, the executive meeting.
I have to go. I have to go. Bye.
We have to vote. We have a motion. So can we just continue with the motion then? Because we need her vote.
But we also need to make sure that the people who have put up for a commentary get to speak.
But she said it wasn't regarding this. Okay.
Thank you. All right, I'll touch base with you later on. We'll address some of those points in terms of the structure. Ms. Moses, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, could y'all table it into another meeting? And the only thing I wanted to say is, I don't know, I forgot who the other person was that spoke in terms of the city charter. And that's basically what I was saying. But I also just wanted to say one thing. If people keep throwing out open meeting law. Open meeting law does not mean that you can participate in everything. Open meeting law means that you can listen to what is being said, X, Y, and Z. So I don't know why everybody keeps throwing that out there. It just means that you can read everything, you can hear everything. And I think we're very good in terms of having participation from community and everybody. I think we're very good in that. But they keep saying open meeting law, like that changes. You still have to have bodies. You have to have a board, and you have to have rules and regulations, and it just don't come from the sky. And so I think, I'm going to say again, I think that you are doing an excellent job in terms of the input from everybody. And then the board can look at it and see what goes in and what goes out. And that's all. I'm just trying to do some structure here. And that's it.
Okay. All right, let's do this. There is a reason. Okay, let me do this. I move to table the motion.
No, Fred, I already
until-
called the question. I'm sorry. You have
This
to
No,
act on that.
first of all, Warren, first of all, if you're out of
No,
order, you
no,
can't-
no, no.
Warren,
There's
Warren,
a
you're out of
process
order.
with Robert's
Warren,
rules.
you are out
What?
of order. You do not have the floor.
I'm not out of order. You're out of order because
Warren,
there's a
Warren,
process. I
Warren.
called the question. Let's vote on
You
it.
cannot call the question if you do not have the floor, Warren.
Oh, no,
Okay.
that's incorrect.
Warren,
You can
Warren,
say what you want and do
Warren,
what you
Warren,
want, but meanwhile,
Warren.
it's 10 o'clock
Warren,
and we
Warren,
called the question.
the ruling,
So if you
the
don't
ruling
want to
has been
vote
made.
on it,
Warren,
that's
the ruling has
fine.
been made.
Just
The ruling
say,
has been made. Warren, stop.
I'm not stopping it. Hey, Fred,
Warren,
let me
Warren.
explain something to you. Okay,
Okay,
there's a
Madam
process.
Secretary.
You're a parliamentarian.
Secretary, please note for the
Okay,
record,
so
Warren Burke
if you
has
don't
been
want to call the question,
out of
say
order,
it, and you're in
and he's been warned by.
violation. That's all.
Please note that for the record.
And note for the record that we're out
Warren,
of Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you.
Warren, thank you. Okay, I am moving to table the question because there are issues that I think are clearly not. Hold on one second.
Is
Madam Secretary, can we do a quick quorum check?
this is
Well, I'm sorry, I'm speaking now, but I didn't realize it was moved. Fred Baptiste,
Present.
Warren Burke,
Present.
Francisco Leopold,
she just left.
okay, Linda Watson Lord, Christian LeBeau, absent, Nicholas Alomar,
Present.
and Kyrie Aline.
Present. So we have
Right, so
quorum.
out of 6 of us, we have one, two.
No, we have quorum. We have quorum.
We do have a quorum, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm moving to table this. And mainly because I think that there are some questions that should be answered and we can pick this up. One of the reasons why I didn't, call for a vote for this for the exec or for the board is because I felt that there was probably going to be more questions. There are definitely some misconceptions in terms of the requirements. Honestly, I think we're extending the process by even talking about this, but I think it's fair enough where we can get the additional information in terms of these can go directly to the law department and we can get rulings right off the bat in terms of should we have this or are these permissible actions or not. I think that we need to make sure we finish this, but I want to make sure we're having a rational conversation based on questions we have. And that was really the intent of this, to figure out what questions we actually still have about the process or what things we need to do. So there's the reason why I'm putting the motion on the floor to table this, and we can pick this up at the next meeting, at which point, if your question is still sustained and there's still a rationale to it, it can be voted on with priority by the exec.
Okay.
So I made the motion.
Okay,
Is there a
let's
second?
have discussion on your motion.
Hold on. Well, first of all, is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Nicholas Allen. All right.
Time
So I've
out. Well,
spoken.
I'm confused, Fred, because you just did the same motion procedure with me. It was seconded, and then we paused it, we held it on. Francesca left. This is the same thing that's happened to me at the last executive meeting. My apologies if you think I'm speaking out of turn. I just don't understand how you just said, I'm calling on a motion. I'm calling on my motion. This is 10 minutes after, right? And then someone said second. I think it was Linda Watson Lord, and you said Nicholas said he's second, and you were already ready to table. Or maybe it wasn't Linda. My apologies, Linda. Are we supposed to move on the first motion, which was?
No, that's the point. But that's the point. There is a
Once
motion on the floor.
Once you table it, it kills the motion. It kills the
But who
motion.
take?
If
But
it's
my
tabled,
question.
the question is, are we going to talk about it now? So if we table it, we are going to postpone the
But
conversation. Your
who is
motion's
we,
still
Fred?
live.
You're the only person that just said that after we just said that we were gonna vote.
All right, let me say, I just went and look it up. Once you put a table, it stopped the original motion. That by what?
This
It does.
happens to me every time. Okay,
It
I understand.
postpones it. So if
You
we
understand?
table
That's
it
the
till
rule.
the next
Because when
meeting.
it's a table,
Thank you.
it stopped the original motion. So which means
Correct.
we have
is
to
amazing.
vote. If the table vote is failed, we
No.
go back to that motion.
No, Nick, I completely disagree. I called the question.
I-
And what that means in terms of procedure is that we vote on it. And to
No,
have
that
a
is not
motion
accurate.
to table it,
That's,
you know,
that's not accurate.
it's just
No,
out
no,
of
that's
order.
not accurate. That from my
It is
records,
out of
wrong.
order. You cannot call the question if you have not been recognized and do not have the floor. Second of all, a motion to table requires a 2/3 vote because you are cutting off conversation when members of the board should be able to vote. But, so anyway, I've given mine. Is there anyone else who wishes to discuss the motion to table?
Yeah, I just want to say in terms of discussion that I think this is all out of order.
It is.
And I have a big question about it. That's all. And I think
But
that we
that's the
should,
point, and that's the reason why
obviously,
we would
no,
table it.
Mr. Baptiste, I'm speaking now, not you. Okay? That we had a procedure, we have Robert's rules, and because of that, we lost quorum. Okay? And that's all I have to say. So let's table it because we didn't lose quorum, but we lost Francisca. And that's it. There's just too much discussion. Okay, I think everyone had a fair time to present their case. I appreciate what Kyrie said. I appreciate what everybody said, but there has to come a time where we have to vote and end it. And that's my only point. So thank you.
If you allow me to read, I don't know. Can I just read?
Well, Mr. Almanor, is it necessary or are we able to vote at this point?
No, I think you're able to vote because it says a motion to table is used to kill a motion without debate or vote on the merit of the resolution. The rule does not provide for taking the motion from the table. Therefore, consideration of the motion may be resumed only by 2/3 vote to suspend the rules.
You said the result of the resolution. We had no resolution, so he was correct.
The resolution was there. We never got to vote to it. The motion to table stopped it. So you have to
Right,
vote
and
to
it postpones
table.
consideration, it postpones
Once you
consideration.
vote to table, if the table pass, we're going to discuss it next time. If it does
Okay,
not,
correct.
we
Okay,
go
I
back to
understand.
it.
I
Okay?
just would like to say, for the record, to reflect that the first ever executive board meeting of this year and of last year, I asked for a committee board meeting for the bylaws, and that's what all of this is coming up. The last time we went through this, Fred, you did something similar, and it was tabled, and no one ever acknowledges anything. It's okay. I will go mute from now on. I will not add anything or say anything to you all, as I do impact my community and the world every day in my everyday life. So thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
All right, let's take the vote. We're going to call the vote. All those members of the exec committee in favor of tabling the motion to next month, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all those opposed? All those opposed, please say no.
No.
All those who, I'm sorry, we're in the middle of vote. All, okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
We'll probably just lost call.
Fred Baptiste?
No, no.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry. I was clicking. My phone was messed up this whole time. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Fred Baptiste?
Yes.
Warren Burke? Warren?
Muted.
I apologize. I was on mute. No.
Francisco? Linda? Yes. Nicholas Alomar?
Yes. For David.
Kyrie?
No.
Vote 3 for, 2 against.
So because Nicholas was encouraged to switch his initial motion to vote for it, now we have a no vote.
Kyrie?
Sir.
No, I'm only
Okay,
asking
okay,
that
listen,
we
listen.
discuss some, it's not, we didn't
Okay,
vote
okay,
on your motion.
order of the day.
Your motion is still alive.
The next and last item we are going to do is create the agenda for the board for next week, and then we will pick up the conversation next week, and we can have conversations whatever we need to. In the meantime, I can definitely make sure this goes to the law department and they can advise on the legality of any of these, so that way when we pick it up, we'll have some additional information.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
would you sort of like share the final decision? Or you did and I didn't hear?
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 3 in favor, 2 against?
Yes.
So the motion carries. The motion, the matter is tabled until the next executive committee meeting. I see your hand. What's up?
Thank you, Fred. I just want to remind us that we need to vote on liquor licenses, and I wasn't sure if that was still in your agenda, and I don't want to lose quorum.
Absolutely. We're gonna do the agenda right now, and I'll make sure we include that. Well,
Gotcha.
actually, let's do this one matter before we continue. The ULURP committee, they had a request to submit a FOIL to the state for the Kingsborough West property. I don't see any issue with that. Can we accept that recommendation by common consent, executive committee?
Yes.
Is there any objection?
Vote for unanimous consent.
Agree.
Here.
Yes. Hearing no objection. I'm sorry, Warren, you object?
Oh.
Okay, all right. So, Madam Secretary, please note that common consent, we're gonna direct the district office to submit the FOIL. All right, so here we go.
Before you go, please repeat what you just said. You kind of muffled. I want to make sure I get it right.
I'm sorry. So by unanimous consent, the executive committee is going to direct the district office to FOIL the state for a copy of the deed for the Kingsborough West property.
And the
on
word,
behalf of the,
yeah, the word FOIL is FOIL.
yes, correct, FOIL.
I know that's what I knew before than that, but I wasn't sure how you were calling.
For information law.
Absolutely. Okay, all right, so that's done. Now, here we go. So first, we're gonna have the hearing. Hearing is going to be on the statement of needs, CB9 statement of needs. On conclusion of the hearing, Dante, do we have any presentations that are scheduled for the month?
No, we do not have any presentations for the month.
Okay. All right. So then we are going to call to order for the meeting. Then we are going to have rules of conduct. Then we are going to have, I'm sorry, SLA applications. 2 applications we're going to hear are on Glue for a renewal of a wine, beer, and cider license. And the second is going to be for Silver Rice. And that's also a wine and cider license, correct? Renewal?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And Dante, please put the correct information in the meeting agenda. All right. After that, we are going to have public commentary.
Excuse me. Is Primo asking the other two restaurant members to come to our general board as well?
Those are gonna go back to the,
To come to our
those are
committee.
gonna go back to committee, they'll review and come back.
Yeah, good question though, and good clarification.
Thanks.
All right, after that, we are going to have acknowledgements. After that, we are going to have, acknowledgements, then we're gonna, roll call. Roll call, we will have the approval of minutes. After the approval of minutes, we will have committee reports. After committee reports, we will hear from the district manager. Under committee reports, let's put a bullet. So you'll have the requests for the events that you approved. Okay, so we'll probably
Yes,
put,
I'll work to have everything that you need.
perfect, thanks so much. And if you need any help or any questions, just let us know. So I'm just gonna put a bullet for youth services events. Okay, after that, we'll have the DM report. Then we will have the chair's report. And then we will go to voting items. I'm sorry, let's do this. Let's do unfinished business first.
Old business, new business.
I don't believe we have. From unfinished business, we will have voting items. To be the SLA applications. After that, we will go a new business.
And adjournment.
No motion.
And then we will have a motion to adjourn. All right, is there anything missing from that agenda? Anything missing from the agenda?
Not that I can
Okay,
think of.
at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Moved by Nicholas Almanor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Linda Watson Lord. All right, moved and seconded. Can I call common consent? Any objections?
Unanimous consent.
Well, no, I have a question. So does that also include what we just were talking about? Like, because you said something about it has to be tabled to the next meetings. Is that included in this
That's for the
agenda?
executive committee. That's
I
one of the
thought- Yeah, no, this is perfect.
Okay, all right, so with that, are there any objections to the adoption of this, common consent?
Fred, did we vote on the liquor licenses?
Yeah, there's two of them. Two of them are gonna go on for Glue and for Silver Rice. The other two are gonna go back to committee.
Right, but did we vote on them?
Right, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I
We
thought we
didn't.
were just voting to add them to the agenda, but we didn't
Right.
actually vote
We
during the
didn't
earlier.
actually vote.
To approve the licenses?
Correct.
Well, I mean, the thing is, voting for the
move
agenda is
them-
moving forward.
To
So if you-
move them
if you
to,
don't-
it's the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Because in committee, you have to vote on that, but I believe you, so. All right.
No, but usually we vote on whether to pass it on. We haven't.
Yes.
what I'm saying is, but by including it in the agenda, that's moving to adopting that, that's moving to pass it on. So if we
Without
don't want to
voting.
pass it on, we don't put it on the agenda.
So that means we have to vote no to the agenda?
I asked if there were any objections to the agenda. When I asked about the two licenses, we're gonna put that on. Do you
I
want to
just
modify this?
raised one.
Right, do you want to take the two of them off?
No, I want to vote on the liquor licenses so we can include them.
They are included as part of the agenda, so if you vote yes,
Yeah, but
they are
what about
included.
the
and
other
going
two?
forward.
What if we disagree about the fourth one?
Okay,
about-
the other two, the chair is going to take those back to the committee.
Right, but what I'm saying is I don't think the fourth one should go back to the committee. It should be, in my opinion, it should be passed. That's all. That's my personal vote.
All right, okay, we have the motion on the floor that was moved to approve it with the two. Do you wish to amend that to include that fourth?
Yeah, I'd like to vote on the liquor licenses, that's all. As we usually do in every meeting.
I think Fred, if this may move things along faster, then like let's vote on them.
The motion is there, the motion to include them in.
Yeah,
the
there's a
agenda.
motion on the floor to adopt the agenda, that's what I'm saying. We've already moved past that, we already have the motion on the floor to adopt the agenda.
Right, but Warren would like to vote on the fourth application in particular, and typically in the committee meetings, we vote on each application individually.
Under,
Let me see, this motion,
Okay.
this motion has to be reformulated.
No, I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to vote on the whip applications, that's fine. And if you want to just go to adopt the agenda, do it. Because I'm tired. I gotta get up at 6 tomorrow, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Warren, that I think there's nothing wrong with us sending back those two applications to the next committee, considering that we didn't get to vote on them in committee. So that's my personal opinion as chair of that committee, is that it's okay.
I
for
go
us-
with your opinion.
Thank you, Warren. So Fred, in that case, I think we are fine to move ahead
Adopt
with the
the
Let's
agenda.
adopt the agenda.
all right, well, it was called for common consent and asked if there were any objections, so if there are no objections, it's common consent. If there's an objection, we can call a vote. So, any objections?
I
All right,
think,
hearing
I
none,
think you have enough information to decide that.
All in favor?
That sounds like not an objection, and we're all in favor.
Aye.
All in favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Motion
All
to
right,
adjourn.
we stand adjourned. Time is now 10:21 PM. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Fred.
See you next week.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Yes.